years ago, when we came to Los Angeles, I really believed that the greatness of the Raiders would be in its future.
We back. Here we go.
Oh, you didn't know?
50-50.
Welcome to the 50-50 Show with PharoahNFL and the Severe Raider, the realest show for Raider Nation.
The perpetuation of the greatness of the Raiders to take a professional football team and give it a distinct characteristic that's different from all others.
Make sure to clock in, like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
You already know what time it is, man. It's the 50-50 Show, man. Make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Hey, man, it's my guy, Severe Raider in the building. Obviously, myself, PharoahNFL, man. Hey, we back at it again, man. Hey, we got a lot to talk about. I'm sure everybody's been talking about the latest and greatest with the Raiders, and in this case, the Raiders end up introducing their head coach, and Pete Carroll and John Spytek. We'll get into that conversation. We'll react to the pressers and what was said and how we feel about the hires. Before we even get into all of that, and we got some flags on the play. Y'all already know what time it is. Notable quotables, all that good stuff. If y'all just joining us, y'all figure it out when we get on the show topics. But that being said, man, we got the night crew in the building pulling up, and Mark is back to his usual self, man. He's pulling up. He says, hi all, make sure to clock in. Subscribe. Thank you, man. I'm sure you probably were the first one to like the video, man. I appreciate the support, my guy, man. Gotta salute you real quick, man. Appreciate you coming through. We got Sholo, man, in the building. He says, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like Ollie Gordon is the typical Pete Carroll type of running back he can get on day 3. Hey, man, this draft is full of running back talent. So, how in my opinion, I think the Raiders should probably double dip as far as getting running backs in this draft. We'll talk about it. We'll get into it. But hey, I wouldn't be mad at that. I mean, he's definitely a talented running back. I think he was injured last season, right? I think he was hurt. Was he hurt last season?
For OK State, did he get hurt? I don't remember. Yeah, it's a running back for Oklahoma State. I don't remember if he got hurt or not.
Austin the Wanderer in the building says, what's good, y'all? Excited for this new era of Raiders football. I feel like we got some decisive folks making football. Hey, I hope you're right, man. I really do, man. I know we've been pretty critical of the Raiders as of lately, but hey, can you blame us? Can you blame us? You know what I mean? We're not going to believe anything until we see it. And that's how I'm gonna go about it. You know, it's a wait and see for me because it's a lot of first with the Raiders. And we'll talk about the first. We've been talked about that as far as, obviously Pete Carroll being the oldest NFL coach in NFL history. Never been done before, man. The guy's going to be, we'll see, man. But that presser, we'll get into it. We'll talk about it. Raider Way in the building, man. Appreciate you coming through. 50-50. I said 50-50. Protect the Shield podcast, 50-50 time. Let's go get it, man. Hey, man, my guy, man. We got to salute you. Hey, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to Chris, man. Protect the Shield podcast on all media platforms, all social media, especially YouTube. Definitely check him out, man. My guy, appreciate you pulling up. Man, Raider Way says, Severe, were you able to schedule Eichenberg for the 50-50 show? Were you able to schedule?
No, Eichenberg is between shifts at Starbucks, so when he gets off, I'll see if we can get him on there.
Oh my God, we'll talk about this too. Bevel coming in for OC. I don't know about that one, but I think they officially interviewed him today. But as far as, I'm not sure if the Raiders should go in that direction. But who am I, man? I'm just over here, just like the rest of y'all, man. Just watching and waiting for what the Raiders are gonna do. And we'll see what hires they make. But he was definitely one of the interviews. I think he interviewed officially today. Leonard for DC. I think Leonard also interviewed today as well. If not today, I think yesterday, or I think today. I think he interviewed today. And Patrick Graham is not out of that DC job, which I like. Hey, keep it going. Keep that consistency going. Or, hey, maybe Rob Leonard, maybe this is his time to shine, man. Maybe it's his time to prove that he can be a DC in the league, man. He's kind of putting his time as one of the better D-line coaches in the NFL. Yeah. But we'll see. We'll talk about it, man. Best intro in the game. Hey, AJ, man, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Hey, and Severe, man. We got it's that killer combo. We got to actually come up with a one intro. I feel like we got it for the 50-50 show. It got to be a 50-50 intro. Technically, it is, if you think about it, 50-50 intro, if you think about it, man. But, it'll be nice to combine one intro. I know some of y'all over here still complain about how long our intros are, but we're gonna figure that out hopefully sooner rather than later. SoCal Sound in the building, man. Man, appreciate you coming. Howard, man, says CP time. Hey, man. Hey, man. It's a running joke on his channel, man. We're gonna clean that up. I speak for myself. I'm gonna clean that up. Clean it up. We'll get on. We'll go live on time. Man, it's all good. It's all good. Billy Davis in the building says, "So what up, Raider Nation?" Pharaoh Severe. Hey, man, appreciate you coming through. Oh, we got Raider Resistance in the building. One of the best Raider IGs out there, man. Make sure to give him a follow if you haven't already. Man, we got everybody pulling up today, man. But we appreciate the support. Make sure to click in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Let's not waste any time. So Monday happened, and Monday was the official presser for John Spytek and Pete Carroll. And everybody was watching, everybody was listening. And I think it was a lot of pressers going on. It wasn't just the Raiders. I felt like, the Jaguars had their pressers. Did the Jets also have their presser on Monday? I think the Jets also did.
I believe the Jets have theirs. Yeah, Jets had theirs.
They had theirs. So it was a few teams that obviously made recent hires. They had their pressers, and I thought the Raiders. I'm a little biased, but I thought we had the best one. To me, in my opinion, I felt like Spytek said all the right things. Obviously, he was kind of reading off a paper. It was a big opportunity for him. First time GM. He wanted to make sure he thanked everybody along the way, including his family, his wife, all the kids, people, mentors, all that good stuff. And he said all the right things. You know what I mean? About how he wanted to be a GM for one of these historic franchises, and he's glad that he's, like I said all the right things. For me, who killed it, who stole the presser, was obviously the most experienced guy in the building, and that's Pete Carroll. like his confidence. He just showed up. He didn't read it. He wasn't reading anything off a piece of paper. He was out there just freestyling, just talking about what he's gonna do and how he's gonna bring back the Raiders to a successful franchise. And I think he said a few things that caught my eye. It felt like he's kind of coming in here to win now. He made some comments about him, hitting the ground running, which, I don't know how to take that, because almost every coach that comes in here, they all kind of say the same thing. We're going to try to win now. We're going to try to win. This is what we're going to. And I'm like, should we go that route? And it hasn't worked in the past. I felt like with this, we do have some pieces on this team, but at the same time, like, is it time for the Raiders to just go in my opinion, if you're going to draft a young QB, which I think there's a good chance that they do, I feel like that the rebuild has already begun. And then, obviously we hear the Max Crosby noise and all that good stuff. I'm not really buying into that, but I feel like, I'm hoping that's exactly what he's here to do, because in that same presser, he also says it took a couple of years to get things going. So if you're saying that you're going to hit the ground running and you're going to try to win now, and everybody that was there kind of got the sense that he wants to win now, then why would you it's all about expectations, right? And people, if you raise the expectations to a winning now, everybody's going to expect that. And in the same pressure, and I don't think people caught that too. He said it took a couple of years everywhere he's went to get things going. So, and I believe that more than anything. But I think with Pete Carroll being the age that he is, 73, I don't think he has time to wait. I don't think he has time for a rebuild. And Mark Davis wants to win now. And I think that's why I guess probably maybe it might be a perfect marriage for right now, as far as, how it's going to work moving forward. But he said a lot of good things as far as how he wants to build his staff with experience, guys that he's worked with, guys that's outside of his box, young guys, innovative guys. And also, just a combination of all that. And I thought that was interesting. And then, he said a few things that I like, man. I think the best comment that he made that got me kind of hyped up was like, hey, man, the last time I took a year off was when he was coaching the Patriots. And he took a year off, and then he ended up going to the USC, and the rest is history. And I'm like, man, if he's able to recreate anything close to what he did with USC or even Seattle, man, I'm gonna be Jews. I thought it was a great presser. He had a whole lot of confidence, and it's expected. And everybody, look, we've been adamant on this channel. We've talked about how, like, his age and how old he is, and you know what I mean. And those concerns are still there. That hasn't gone away. But hey, a lot of people are loving this move. He has a whole lot of support, that's not a surprise. He's probably going to go in the Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Fame coach, a great coach. He went from USC to obviously Seattle. He's been successful, going to a couple of Super Bowls, winning one. But we'll see what it looks like for the Raiders, man. What was your take on the pressure overall?
No, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was basically run-of-the-mill stuff. The fact is, Pete Carroll is a 73-year-old man going on 74. So first of all, I wouldn't suggest anybody that old to hit the ground running. But he like to say like he has to win now, like he kind of has to say that, because bro, you're 73. Like, if we were going to go with the patience process, why hire somebody with your experience and your resume, right? It, like I'm not hiring you for growing pains. I'm hiring you for results. So like you better bring results, and you better be in a win now mindset, because if not, this was a wasted hire. And then Pete Carroll was polished, man. I think he had command of the room. He got his jokes off. I think he was He showed off his experience and his seasoning. But that is, if he wasn't all of those things, I think that will be a concern, because he's been coaching since the 80s, like literally. Like he's been, I think he started off as GA in like 80 something. So like he's had years to kind of hone these skills. So if he wasn't good at it, that would be more of a story than him having a good press conference. But at the end of the day, like, this is all lip service, man. I hire people, I interview people for a living. Like, that's my job. That's what I do. So I'm not easily swayed or fooled or moved by somebody saying the right things. Like, I need to see results. I need to see, hey, give me concrete stories of, I did this, and this. I did this, and that, right? You can talk about what he did at SC. I think his first year, I think they were, a bad team his first year, or maybe his first few years, I believe. But that team, what that team already had? That SC team, they already had Carson Palmer. They already had like a legit star quarterback. That team, I believe they also already had Troy Polamalu, right? A legit defensive stud. So he already had the ingredients in place. It just needed somebody to kind of put them together. I don't think anybody would look at this roster and say, you have the makings of a team that's going to hit the ground running or going to start winning immediately. So, it's good that they have that mindset, especially for him, because like I said, that there's really no other choice but for him to have that mindset, because being where he's at in his career, being the reason that we hired him is basically to produce results. So it's good that they have that mindset. But now it's time to kind of put the pedal to the metal, or put your money where your mouth is. Whatever old saying you wanna use, and actually produce those results. I'm not going to get excited or happy about press conferences. Josh McDaniels, they had a plan during their press conference, right? And it sounded like a good plan. They had a slogan, tough, smart, dependable football players. What do we want here? Tough, smart, dependable football players. There was their slogan. That was their vision. Like, that's easy to remember, easy to say, hey, when you think about it, hey, that's what you want to build your franchise on. Tough, smart, dependable football players. Did we get any of that? No. AP. We all know how AP was. It's high energy. AP doing this, AP doing that. The Raiders chant, having all the reporters do the Raiders chant with them, right? The energy, all that stuff. And how did that turn out? It didn't turn out well. So I'm not going to be moved by this dog and pony show. But when I see some results on the field, when I see some good hires, then that's when I'll start to get more excited.
AJ, man, you're right. You know what? I'll take that back. Hey, Marshawn did steal the presser. He had the you know what? And that's probably what made it a great presser. It was a lot of authentic moments. And Marshawn rolling into the building, yelling Raiders, and then obviously, Pete Carroll just quickly, just reacted to it and was like, "Oh, Mark, settle down." I thought that was funny. But hey, look, we'll see, man. For me, it's wait and see. I'm not questioning Pete Carroll. I've never questioned Pete Carroll, the coach.
Yeah.
It's always been, what is the plan with a 73-year-old coach? How are we going to go back and do, if the Raiders go on a Super Bowl run with Pete Carroll, hey, man, I'll happily be wrong and be celebrating with y'all. I'm be real with y'all. But at the end of the day, like, if we don't do this the right way, because everybody what we hear from everybody when people try to connect the dots early on with Pete Carroll. Oh, he's the right guy for the job. He's gonna build the right culture so the next guy can come in and just take it to another level, right? But Pete Carroll's not coming in here to be. I don't think he's coming here to give this job to somebody else. He's coming in here to be like, nah, this is my job and I'm going to see this through. I feel like that was his kind of attitude, and he kind of like, he talked his stuff in the presser, talking about what he did in his past, head coaching stops. Last time he took a year off, and he went to USC, and the rest is history. Like stuff like that. It just tells me like, hey, he kind of has a chip on his shoulder, because people are kind of doubting him as a coach at his age. But yeah, you about to say something?
No, I mean, I guess I was going to say, that was he took over USC in 2001, so that was 23 years ago. So he was a he was a 50-year-old man at that point. Like, yes, it's a real difference, bro.
Yeah.
That it don't hit the same. And in the college game, when you like I said, when you already have a quarterback in place like a Carson Palmer, who was already universally regarded as one of the best QB prospects, in the nation when he signed to SC. Like, that's a lot different than having, the land of misfit toys we have over here. Whether it's Aiden O'Connell, whatever they decide to do with Gardner Minshew, which is likely cut him, whatever they decide to do in free agency, or whatever they decide to do in the draft. Like, you don't have a blue chip quarterback prospect unless you move up and you get a Cam Ward or Shador Sanders. And it is Spy Tech going to be willing to do that, because nothing in their history says he's the kind of guy that move up. Nothing in Pete Carroll's history when he's partnering with John Snyder says they're the type that's going to be aggressive and move up for a quarterback. So they've generally been almost like a best player available, build the trenches, build the defensive line, offensive line, build on the corners. Like, that's kind of what the history has been. So you don't have a blue chip, and they lucked into Russell Wilson. That wasn't plan A. That was plan B. And their plan A, his plan A with John Snyder was Matt Flynn. How did that work out? So they lucked into Russell Wilson, and then what has he done, since Russell Wilson has left? Right. Russell Wilson has made the playoffs since leaving the Broncos. Pete Carroll has gotten, he got fired since leaving the Broncos. He hasn't won a playoff game since 2019. Hasn't had a top 10 defense since 2016. Has had multiple bottom 20 defenses in that time as well. So, like, Russell Wilson has had more success outside of Pete Carroll than Pete Carroll has had outside of Russell Wilson. So who we give him the credit there?
Yeah, it was Russell Wilson, Matt Flynn, and Tavarius Jackson. I don't know if y'all remember that name.
Yeah, Tavares Jackson, yes.
Tavares Jackson, yeah, QB. And if y'all remember, I think they traded for a couple of those. I think they might have signed Matt Flynn and then traded for Tavares.
Signed Matt Flynn to a fat contract off of that one game.
See, what I like about that, they were aggressive in addressing the quarterback position, and I felt like that was what was missing last year. I felt like we signed Minshew on the first day, like, which is nasty. Like, why would you sign a quarterback like Minshew on the first day? But that's a tired conversation. But they just did that and then pretty much didn't do anything, and I think that might have been the downfall of the last regime. Now the Raiders are going into the offseason, and quarterback is one of the biggest questions on this team. It's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do moving forward. And I feel like with Pete Carroll coming in the building, with him saying I want to hit the ground running, with his age being said, I think he's going to go for a proven vet for sure. Like, there's no doubt. I think that there's going to be a proven vet starting day one, next season. The way it happened in Seattle, obviously Russell Wilson, you know what I mean? He won the job outright as a rookie, 3rd round pick. So we'll see how the Raiders go about addressing it in the draft. But I just think that I can see a veteran QB coming to this team. Who that might be, I'm not sure. And we'll probably say, I think we'll have a conversation about that later. But man, we appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Dixon says we had to hire Pete. It's kind of, you know what?
We didn't have to.
We didn't have to. We didn't have to, but the reality is like there weren't a whole lot of options too. I'm not gonna lie.
Was Pete Carroll the best of the candidates that we interviewed outside of Ben Johnson? Probably. Yeah. But how many people did we interview? And what were the people that we actually did interview? So, in my opinion, how many people did the Jets interview? The Jets interviewed like 17 people. That they were casting a wide net. They were going to get perspectives from different coaches. And that way you ensure, hey, you know what? I've heard all of these people. And of all of these people, this is the very best candidate for our team and our situation. We didn't do that. We took a very narrow look at our net was not cast wide at all. It was very limited scope that we looked at. And, most of the people, for the most part, were defensive coaches. And then, a lot of them were also older coaches. So, we didn't really cast the white. We didn't look into any of these young, innovative people. We didn't interview a Kellen Moore. We didn't interview Liam Cohen, I think we tried to. I think he kind of turned us down. We didn't even get an opportunity to interview Todd Monken. Like, we didn't look at any of these other younger guys. We just kept a very narrow scope. And, so of the people that we interviewed, was he the best? Yeah. But, what is that really saying?
Real quick, man, let's address the super chat real quick. My guy, Space Beat, with a couple of super chats, man. I appreciate the support. He says, what's up, Pharaoh and Severe fam? Man, appreciate the support, man. He also says, I love how Severe stands behind his words. Nah, facts, man, 100%, man. Severe, man, he's not gonna go out like he look. Hey, and I'm with him too when it comes to Pete Carroll. Like, I'm obviously a fan of the team, and I want to see the best product on the football field. I want to see the Raiders win at the end of the day. But I gotta be honest, I've never seen a coach that old coach on the sideline. Be a head coach of a football team. I know people start using examples of the Andy Reids and but these are guys that have already been. First of all, they've coached. They're younger. First of all, let's be honest. 70 when you're in your 70s, it's a big difference between when you're in your 60s. And then a lot of people are like, oh well, Pete Carroll, he makes the 70s is the new 40 and all this stuff. But just look at history. Why haven't we seen 70-year-old coaches dominate or coaches coach into their 70s? The last oldest coach in the NFL history was Romeo Crennel. And the only reason why he was a head coach was because he was an assistant coach that was elevated to interim head coach, and then he retired. So, Pete Carroll might be the exception to the rule, but we'll see, man. Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate the support. Man, let's keep it going, man. Let's get into some of the staff's interviews that's been happening lately. I mean, I think some of the people in the chat were talking about Darrell Bevell, former OC of the Seahawks. I think he's a QB coach currently, or he was a QB coach for for another team.
QB coach. I think he was QB coach with the Dolphins. I think he was also OC with Pete Carroll in the past.
Yeah, man. I think everybody just remembers his decision to throw the ball on the goal line. I mean, that's actually a good question too. And I think Marshawn answered it, or he kind of answered it in a podcast when someone asked him like whose decision was it to not run the football in that second Super Bowl appearance, or they could have won their second Super Bowl in 3 years or 2 years.
The second one.
Yeah, their second Super Bowl, and he said that they both pointed the fingers when he asked Pete Carroll. He said it was Bevell. When he asked Bevell, they said it was Pete Carroll. So I thought that was interesting. No one wanted to take responsibility, but I think getting a guy like Bevell, I think is a guy that he's familiar with. But isn't he a guy that he fired? Why would you want to hire someone that you fired? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense, right? Like,
yeah.
I thought when you fire someone, you determine that, hey, you know what, this is not it's not working. I don't like where this is going.
Yeah.
But what do you think of the recent interview request or interview of Darrell Bevell?
I mean, it's not a guy I would want on staff here, to be honest with you. But maybe spending time away from the Seahawks organization. He's been recently with Miami Dolphins. We kind of think that Mike McDaniel is one of those creative offensive guys. He's kind of been responsible, for coaching Tua. Tua has looked well when he's been healthy. So maybe he's learned a thing or two. But honestly, I would not be, if we hired Darrell Bevell, I'd be pretty upset. I would be pretty upset.
Yeah, man, you would want like maybe some young, innovative offensive mind. Is there anybody in mind that you're thinking of that you would want to add as an OC that's out there?
Of of the candidates out there, I mean, Bobby Slowick.
Yeah.
Texans let him go. So
Yeah.
that I would take a long look at Bobby Slowick, young guy from the Shanahan tree. Didn't work out with the Texans, but hey, I would take a long look at him. Byron Leftwich is another guy. He won a Super Bowl with Spytek and with Brady under Bruce Arians. I would definitely take a look at him as well. Michael Floyd, doubt if he comes here because why would you want to leave the Rams and Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford? But if you can entice him over here, a big contract, play calling duties, opportunity to take over the reins once Pete Carroll leaves or rides off into the sunset, maybe that's enough to get his attention and make him want to come over here and join our coaching staff. But right now it's gonna be tough for us because we probably have one of the worst OC jobs because of the fact we don't have a quarterback. And Houston opened up, they got CJ Stroud, and Tampa Bay's opened up, they have Baker Mayfield. I don't think Jacksonville has hired anybody yet as their OC. They got Trevor Lawrence. Like, we're not one of the more attractive OC jobs either. Like, we wasn't one of the more attractive head coaching jobs. We're not going to be one of the more attractive OC jobs either.
Yes, we're not going to get a big name. I think a guy like Slowick, he did just get fired from the Texans, and the Texans obviously took a step back offensively this year. CJ Stroud didn't look like the same quarterback in his second year, and I think there were some issues between him and CJ Stroud. I don't know. There's a disconnect. Maybe that might have been personnel. Maybe they didn't have the right players. But when someone gets fired, they're basically pointing the finger and say, "Hey, like, you didn't hold up your end of the bargain." So you would still go for a guy like Slowick even after he kind of got fired from the Texans in his second year. And last year he was getting head coaching. He didn't get a head coaching job, but like interview requests.
Interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest problem with the Texans was their offensive line, and that they were super injured as well. I think CJ Stroud was the second most sacked quarterback in the league. I forgot who first was. It was on a bad team. I forgot who the first one was, but he's the second most sacked quarterback in the league. A lot of that had to do with the offensive line. So, I don't put all of that on Bobby Slowick, but maybe D'Amico Ryans thought it was, Bobby Slowick. But I want my offensive coordinator or my QB coach, I want them, hey, like, if you have to have confrontation with our star player, that's something that you guys should be able to have confrontation and then move past it, get a resolution and then, make whatever results you need to make out on the field. Sometimes, confrontation is necessary. You don't want somebody that's going to be scared to confront somebody or scared of that conflict because then they're not going to be able to coach or get their point across. Sometimes that's what's needed. And if he has the ability to say, hey, I don't care if you CJ Stroud. I don't care if you just won Rookie of the Year. You took it to a playoff game. Like, this is what I said you need to do this, or this is what I need to be done on this player. This is what I need you to do here. Like, you want a guy to be able to do that. And, the fact that he has the cojones to do it, I think that I see it as a positive more than a negative.
Right. And Huey P actually talks about something that, or not Huey P, Diesel brings this up. He says, whatever happens, don't get rid of Max. You know what? I don't think Max is leaving. I never thought that he was leaving. I think that's a worst case scenario if the Raiders obviously were going in a terrible direction. I think he wants to stay, man. No matter, it's just a matter of the Raiders obviously committing to him, and the Raiders are not going to have any problem or any issues with that. And look at how, Pete Carroll and Spytek were embracing Max, who was there at the presser. This tells you a lot and how they feel about him as a player. And just even, I'm just going to play this. I know we got notable quotables and all that flags on the play, but I'm going to go ahead and play this clip real quick of Spytek. This is when he was with the Bucks. He was in a podcast, and it was a podcast interview, and they asked him about types of players that they want to keep and players that you don't leave. And I'm going to go ahead and play this clip real quick.
Out of the question?
I don't think you can ever let good players leave a building, and I certainly don't think you can ever let good pass rushers leave a building. You're crazy if you do that because they're going to end up on another team, and along the line they're going to hurt you. And
that out of the question.
He literally just told you the playbook. He just told you to play. Like, they're not gonna. They have no plans. I don't think that's gonna be their plan, is to get rid of Max Crosby. If anything, they're gonna be trying to extend him. Because I know he doesn't have any guarantee money left, so they're gonna figure that out. And the Raiders have plenty of cap space. They're gonna figure that out. And I'm sure Pete Carroll is gonna do his best job of selling him and letting him know, like, hey, next year's defense is gonna be top notch. And I think that's something that we could be excited about, is how this defense is gonna look. And that's something that we didn't even talk about too as well. Like, we're talking about staff interviews. Rob Leonard and Patrick Graham got it. I think Rob Leonard he already interviewed. Graham is set to interview, or I'm not sure if he already interviewed, but that's another guy that still has a chance of actually retaining his job. What would you like to see happen as far as that DC job? Do you want a different candidate over there? Do you want a Leonard in-house guy, or should we continue and bring back Patrick Graham?
I mean, ideally, you keep Patrick Graham. I think the players love him. I think that, before all of the injuries, I think we were primed to be a very good defensive team. And if you look at, where Pete Carroll had his most success when he was in Seattle with the Legion of Boom, he inherited Gus Bradley. He inherited Dan Quinn. These people were already on staff. So that could be a similar situation with Patrick Graham and with Robbie Leonard, right? Like, guys that are already on staff, already entrenched here, already have their relationship with the players. And he comes in and he does his CEO Pete Carroll thing and kind of brings out the best of those guys and brings out the best in the players, and still allows them to continue to do what they've already been doing, crafting that defense and having that positive player interaction. So if it worked in Seattle, maybe that's something he tries to duplicate here with Patrick Graham and with Robbie Leonard. And once Gus Bradley, went on to take the Jags job, that's when he elevated Dan Quinn to defensive coordinator. That could be a similar situation here. If Patrick Graham is fortunate enough to get a head coaching job somewhere else in the near future, then you got a guy already in Robbie Leonard you can elevate to be your DC. So, I can see something like that happening.
No, facts. I agree. I feel like that would be a great plan if that's where the Raiders are headed. And if you think about it, we're talking about what is the succession plan for Pete Carroll, because we know that he's not going to be here for like the next 15 years, because obviously he's approaching his mid-70s. What happens if Patrick Graham is the guy? You know what I mean? What happens? He grooms. Maybe Patrick Graham becomes that guy. Who knows? I think that he's a guy that's gotten a lot of interviews in the past, and obviously, he hasn't found the right opportunity. And I feel like being a defensive-minded coach, I think it's harder. It's harder to get a head coaching job in today's NFL, where every owner wants to get the next, you name it, fill in the blank, hottest OC out there, and so I think it's tough for him. But I think Patrick Graham as a DC would be perfect. Rob Leonard is a D-line coach. And like you said, if Patrick Graham leaves, maybe Leonard is the guy, who gets the job. But we'll see, man. I think the Raiders are, or at least Pete Carroll is having I think he has an open mind as far as who he wants to add to his staff, which I like. It's not a situation where, I'm just going to hire the guys that I know. You know what I mean? It's a good mixture that he's trying to build. And like you mentioned, you mentioned Gus Bradley, former head coach, DC, longtime DC, Dan Quinn, head coach for the Commanders. What that tells me is that Pete Carroll has a history of building good staffs. So that's something, we can probably look forward to and get excited about. But real quick, man, Raiders Smoke 89 in the building, man. Appreciate the super chat. He says, fellas, Wilson as a bridge QB and draft Shador. Could you see a scenario where we draft Genty, giving Pete philosophy, run the rock, and beef up the O-line? Man, that's going to be tough, man. I think Spytek is probably going to be the guy in the building where he's going to be like, you know what? Just look at this draft. I think the Raiders, will be smart and draft a running back a little bit later, because there's going to be some good players later in the draft. I don't think we should draft a guy because Genty, he ran the ball almost 400 times last season. 400 times. Like, what is he? I think the value of the running back is still there as far as what they can do for a football team. But as far as, how long their careers and how effective they're going to be, there's only certain running backs that can have a long career. There's only certain players. And I think a good example of that is, we've seen like short careers for certain running backs because you remember Larry Johnson? I remember Larry Johnson back in the day for the Chiefs. He had like a 400 carry season, and we never seen him again after that.
Yeah.
It's tough, man.
With DeMarco Murray. Same thing with David Johnson.
Yep. Exactly. So, but I think there's going to be plenty of options. I'm excited. Hopefully they can get a couple of running backs this draft, and maybe free agency might be an option. Maybe add a veteran and you draft a guy. There's a lot of different ways they can address that position. And hey, we talked about the Bucky Irvin, how well he played this year in his rookie season. Spytech was a part of that building that was able to identify a Bucky Irvin. I think there's even a clip of him breaking down of what they liked in Bucky Irvin, which made them draft him. And so that's a good thing. In Spytech, he knows what he wants at that position, and hopefully it can help us moving forward, especially drafting a guy. Man, smoke, man, again with the super chat, my guy, man. He says, confrontation is good. Look at JJ Redick and Reeves. Oh, as far as you talking about basketball? In what way? What's the correlation with the Raiders? Like who's being confrontational to who with the Raiders?
He's just talking about just in terms of Bobby Slowick and CJ Stroud. I think he's like relating it to that.
Oh yeah,
just like if they had worse. I said you look at even look at Bill O'Brien and Tom Brady, right?
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought about too. Yeah,
it's like hey, it's like if you got two guys, hey, they have strong opinions, but if you're a man, you'll be able to resolve those issues. So nobody wants to back down, but sometimes you gotta kind of find that happy medium and kind of meet in the middle. But yeah, man, I mean, in just terms of running back, we've seen already with Tampa Bay, they was able to find Rashard Wright. I think that was a 3rd round guy. They were able to find Bucky Irving. I think he was a 4th round guy. Like there are backs that, and the Spytech was involved with both of those backs being drafted. So you can find backs later on. I don't remember where they drafted. They drafted Zach Charbonnet in the 2nd round. I think they drafted Walker. I think that was the 2nd or 3rd round pick up in Seattle. So like you don't have to take back early. You can get a guy in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, right? Look at Tyrone Tracy with the Giants, right? Guy drafted in the 4th round. Guy we really like these backs are available later, and especially in this particular draft class where there's so many good backs, there's going to be a whole bunch that fall down draft boards or fall into the later rounds of the draft. Like just hang on and don't pull the trigger too early and get one of these guys late.
My guy with another super chat, man. Hey man, he's trying to let everybody know, man, like and subscribe, man. We going live on both our channels, so if you haven't already, make sure to like the video and subscribe on both channels. And yeah, man, show some love to 50/50 show, man. Hey man, we appreciate the support. And how you support is just hitting that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when we drop new content. Man, we appreciate everybody coming through, man. Hey, look, I want to see how this staff kind of fills out, because Pete Carroll, like I said, has a history of building a real good staff. So Darrell Bevel, I'm not sure. I think that's just a case of like Pete just being familiar with them and him possibly just being available. Hopefully he casts a wide net at the OC position, at the OC spot, but that being said, hey, guys are getting hired left and right. Time is ticking, and teams are filling out their staff. So hopefully the Raiders can get can start getting there and hiring some guys so they can start evaluating certain spots at this offseason as far as certain positions on a football team. Man, we got people pulling up. Steve says Derek Bevel would be like hiring a Patriot OC. He benefited with Russ being QB. Can't expect to win much with no QB that can move the ball. Maybe that's the plan. Maybe that's the chess move that Pete Carroll's thinking about. Like, hey, you know what? We had success when we had Russ and Bevel in the building. Maybe getting Russ, who's going to be available, he's going to be a free agent, which there's a good chance he kind of re-signs with the Steelers. He even said in I think certain interviews and where he says that he's locked in, he wants to stay with the Steelers, and I'm sure like Steelers are interested in doing that because the other option is your favorite QB in the NFL is Justin Fields. So I'm not sure if they're all in on Fields, but we'll see, man. We'll see how that shakes out. But I think, yeah, man. Hey, Russell. A lot of people are pointing the dots, man. But you know, let's wait and see, man, because we fell for the Ben Johnsons. We fell for all the other. You know, let's just wait. We can connect the dots all we want, but let's wait and see. But yeah, you can see it. You can see the writing could be on the wall if they get a Darrell Bevel. Like everybody's gonna be talking about Russell Wilson because I think they had during the end of their tenure with Wilson and Pete Carroll, I think they had some issues, but as of recently, they kind of they rekindled whatever their relationship and they're good to go. So I was getting ready to do a little.
First of all,
But man, hey, appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure to clock in. My Lake Show's my reaction was just like Severe's when announcement came in about the hiring of old man Pete. Yeah, man, it's tough out here, man. It's it's wait and see. That's just my attitude. Wait and see. Because I'm not questioning Pete Carroll to coach.
Pete can't coach. Yeah, we're not saying he can't coach. But like in 3 years, we right back to square one. Right back to square one. If he does a good job, we right back to square one. If he does a bad job, we right back to square one too, right? So it's like, and people like, oh, he's here to make us respectable or to clean or to set the culture right, all this stuff. But like, that's culture isn't passed down from regime to regime. Once you bring in a new coaching staff or new coaches like that, unless you whoever you hire as your OC or whoever you hire internally, you have to kind of want them to be the natural successor. That's the only way that culture is kept. Because you bring in somebody out from the outside, they're gonna have their own principles, their own beliefs, their own way of doing things. So then you're totally getting rid of that previous culture and you're implementing your own culture, your own way of doing things. Just like, whatever Antonio Pierce did, whatever Josh McDaniels did, whatever John Gruden did before him, Pete Carroll is establishing his own thing. And the next coach is going to want to come in and do that exact same thing. So this like myth that like culture doesn't pass down from coaching staff to coaching staff. Rarely does that happen, right? Sean Payton is doing his own thing with the Broncos. Whoever the next coach for the Patriots is going to be, it's not going to be the Patriots way anymore. It's going to be his way, or Mike Vrabel's way, right? Even though it's kind of tangentially Patriot, but he ran his own ship when he's with Tennessee. That's going to be the same thing with all these other places. With Brian Schottenheimer with the Cowboys, it's not going to be what Jimmy Johnson did or what Barry Switzer did or what Jason Garrett did or what Bill Parcells did. It's going to be his own thing. That's what happens. You do your own thing, and that's what's going to happen here. Once Pete Carroll rides off into the sunset, the next coach is going to want to come in and put his own stamp on it. Because if not, they're going to be saying, "Oh, he's riding off the coattails of what Pete Carroll does." Everybody wants to establish their own identity as a team, and that's what the next coach is going to do.
Yeah, and AJ Simpson says in his presser, Pete mentioned that that's Brady's plan. Made it very enticing to coach here. That makes me feel like we're getting Sanders no matter what. You know what? It's a good point. I'm also we actually didn't mention this. I thought it was very interesting that Pete Carroll really went out of his way to mention Tom Brady more than once throughout the presser, which should tell you like how involved Tom Brady is, and how excited he was to come here and knowing that Tom Brady's in the building. And obviously, it wasn't just Tom Brady. He mentioned also the other owners, and we talked about this in previous shows about how Mark making chess moves and bringing in Tom Brady, and obviously selling a certain percentage to other owners, to other people team, and to add a little bit more I guess, a lot of more experience and financial flexibility to the team when you add a little bit of, guys that's been in the industry. And I think, man, if you think about it, bro, I think, man, to be honest with you, I kind of like how I like how Pete Carroll talked about the QB position, and he went out of his way to say, because a lot of people sometimes they think that, oh, you know what, like we got to get a QB, we have to get a QB, we do, but doesn't mean that he has to be a top 5 QB. You know what I mean? It can be a guy that's, top 10, top 15, and I don't know if you want to take this as a shout out of Russell Wilson or previous QBs that he had, but he went out of his way to say, hey, look, we got to build the team around that QB. We got to make it easier for him to play his position. And that's how he's won. That's how he won a Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl with a young QB in Russell Wilson, but a great defense. And obviously one of the best, if not the best running back at that time, Marshawn Lynch. You can make an argument him and Adrian Peterson were going, back and forth as far as who's the best in the league at that time. And I think Pete has a vision of who he wants, and it doesn't necessarily, he's not stuck on, the QB has to carry the team. We need to get that top 5 guy, because there's only 5 guys. When you talk about top 5, you talk about top 3s, there's only 3 guys, 5 guys. There's only a handful of players that can play at that level, and there's everybody else. What he's trying to say is that we don't necessarily have to get that guy in order to win, which I like. Thought that was a good point that Pete wanted to point out in the presser, and he wanted to talk about, and I think that's a good sign, man. I think the way they're going to address this QB position, it's not going to just be one guy. I think they're going to attack that position. They're going to try to get free agents in the building. They might make make a trade. Did you hear that rumor about Matt Stafford possibly being on the trade block for the Rams? I mean, I don't know how much you would be interested in that, but hey, Stafford is good QB. I know he's up there in his age. I mean, but he's better than what we have, or better than what's out there in free agency.
Yes, but why would the Rams do that though? That's the only thing. Like, why would the Rams, like, we like, this is not a draft class with a lot of great quarterbacks, not a great free agency class in terms of quarterbacks. Their backup is Jimmy Garoppolo, or I think Jimmy Garoppolo only had a 1-year deal, so I don't even know who they have on the roster right now. So like, why would the Rams do that? I mean, and no, it's all well and good to say that, like, you need, like, you don't have to have a quarterback to win, or you want to build up everything else around the quarterback, but like, that's, like, you need a quarterback playing at a high level in the NFL to win. Yeah, I mean, that's just the facts of the matter. Like, you look at who were in the Final Four. People want to say, Tom Brady, he was a 6th-round pick. Okay, he's kind of an exception to the rule. Like, but every time you name somebody that's like wasn't drafted in the 1st round, it's generally the exception. You think about most of the great quarterbacks of all time, where were they drafted? Usually in the 1st round. So that's just what it is. Like 90% of the best quarterbacks of all time were 1st-round picks. So most of the quarterbacks in this previous playoffs, were 1st-round picks. Outside of, was Jalen Hurts the only one not drafted in the 1st round? Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But that's the only one I could think of off the top of my head right now that wasn't drafted in the 1st round. So like the fact that and I think Russell Wilson made the playoffs too. So that's 2 I can think of off the top of my head right now. Lamar Jackson, where he's drafted, 1st round. Josh Allen, where he's drafted, 1st round. CJ Stroud, where he's drafted, 1st round. Like, all these guys were 1st-round picks. Jaden Daniels, we know where the hell he was drafted at, right? So, Patrick Mahomes, we know where he was drafted at. Like, all these guys are 1st-round picks, and when you're in a division that has Justin Herbert, under the tutelage of John Harbaugh, you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. To think that you're going to build up a roster good enough to overcome, Patrick Mahomes, like in 2 or 3 years, it's not happening.
Yeah, the thing is too, just to answer your question about why would they, maybe because he's an aging quarterback and they're trying to get him out that contract. Yeah, as far as who would be the possible replacement, that's a good question. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you know, it's a quarterbacks league, and you know, a guy like McVay, he traded away Goff to get Stafford. So
Exactly.
unless they got someone to replace him, you know,
that was an upgrade.
Yeah,
that was an upgrade. They traded away Goff and like multiple first round picks to get Stafford. So like that was an upgrade.
Yeah, and the thing is too, I don't know how I like, because I know it just feels like the Raiders are going to be aggressive in upgrading that quarterback position, which I have no problem with. But when we talk about the draft, I'm like, I just don't want us to trade up. I just don't want us to trade up, man. I don't think it's that good of a class for us to trade up to first overall to draft and you know who they're going to draft. I feel like all signs point it's going to be Shedeur. And Shedeur, I just don't think his ceiling is not. He's just, what is he going to be? And you know, maybe a guy like Pete Carroll is going to make it work for sure. A guy like, you know, a lot of teams can make it work. You can make it work with a guy like a Shedeur. I just don't think he's a guy that you trade up for, you know. But that's just my opinion. Maybe
but we were already there. If we weren't already there, I wouldn't. But we were already in position to draft whoever the hell we wanted, and you know, apparently wins against the Jaguars and the Saints were worth the potential future of our franchise. Like, everybody was so happy we won those games, and so anti, losing those games. Well, now look where we're at, right? So it's like we had opportunity to be in position to draft anybody we wanted to, and now if we want to draft a quarterback, we have to move up.
Yeah. Now you're right. And you could probably argue the last couple years, you know, we could have, you know, probably handle certain things a certain way, but you know, I think that's just not having everybody on the same page as far as upper management. You know, the coaches are going to coach. They're going to coach to win. I can't blame them. The players are going to play to win. I can't blame them. Yeah. But as far as management, meaning the GM, president of football operations, owner, they all have to be on the same page. And when Mark fired McDaniels in the middle of the season, he did that to make a change so he can salvage the season. But if, I'm just playing devil's advocate. If he were to let McDaniels coach out the season, most likely we're not going to win a lot of games. We're not going to finish the season the way we did with AP at head coach. And, we probably would have finished with a top 5 pick, top 10 pick in a draft where 6 quarterbacks were taken in the top 12. Yeah. But, hindsight is 20/20, but it's just certain decisions like that. And hopefully with a guy at Tom Brady and you got Spy Tech in the building, Pete Carroll and all these guys, hopefully things change and we can right the ships. But I'm just saying, like, it's just small decisions like that. And I think that's why you need to remove an owner. Like, you got to remove Mark from the decision making. This is where Mark gets involved and he just makes these he's like, he's trying to win. Yeah, but like no, not now, Mark. Just let it play out, and then you can do what you want to do and hire the right guy or whatever. But that's a whole different conversation, man. Hey, man, Daniel Kim, the king of mods in the building, says remember to clock in. Hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, man. Appreciate everybody coming through. We're going live on both our channels, so if you haven't already, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Man, we got everybody pulling up left and right. Yeah, man, Spy Tech is a crazy last name, man. That's a perfect name, I guess.
That's a dope name. That's a dope last name. I can't hold you.
For a Raiders GM, especially with Tom Brady in the building too.
Yeah, man.
It's a crazy combination. Moso Raider says Najee Harris. Ooh, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think he's gonna want to get a long-term deal. He's gonna want to get paid. I mean, did he actually get 1,000 yards this season?
I think he's had 1,000 yards every year of his career, ironically. But the Steelers, who
Najee Harris had 1,000 yards every year. What?
I say it says 1,000 yards every year. But ironically, the Steelers that are, they usually take care of the guys. They chose not to pick up his 5th-year option. So I don't know what's going on with it. And usually, look, if the Steelers ain't messing with you, then it might, it's something because they kept the Antonio Brown stuff under wraps for a minute. I ain't saying Najee Harris, Antonio Brown, but you'll never know what's going on behind those walls with the Steelers because they run a tight ship.
Hey, you're right. He went for 1,200 in 2021, which is rookie season, and pretty much just over 1,000 every year of his career after that. I mean, he hasn't really dominated, but you're right. He's gotten 1,000 yards. But
that's why we tell everybody. Everybody was like, "Oh, Josh Jacobs, he ran for 1,000." Like, bro, 1,000. That's like 70 yards a game, bro. That's not like on the grand scheme of things. That's not a whole bunch of yards. Like. You should be able to get that. It's harder now because a lot of teams run like a 2-back system. So you might not always get the touches to do it. But 1,000 yards is 70 yards. Like if your running back ended with 70 yards in a game, you wouldn't be like, oh, he had a hell of a game. Like, no, bro, it's just 70 yards. So, that's what I'm saying. 1,000 yards is not super hard to get.
Well, I also look at the efficiency too. The efficiency matters too. You can run for 100 yards, but if you average 2 yards a carry, then I don't know what that would. what were they thinking that game as far as play calling? But because if you look at Najee Harris, I mean, he first couple years in the league, he barely. I mean, he was three yards a carry, 3.9, 3.8, and then last couple years just made it over 4 yards, 4.1, 4 yards a carry. So it's a little bit efficiency that matters, and I think Josh Jacobs is a better running back than Najee Harris too.
I think he's a better running back, but if you look at Josh Jacobs' efficiency, look at Josh Jacobs' numbers before this year. I think Josh Jacobs was a career at like 3.8 yards a carry guy. So before this year, he was like he was tracking exactly the same.
Yeah. But hey, he had a solid year this year. He stepped up this year with the
better than solid. He had a hell of a year, great year.
Yeah. So we'll see how it looks like moving forward because I know he's under contract with them. But there's no guarantee money left. I wonder if he's going to continue to play with no guarantee money left in his contract. I think that's the case, right? I think it was like after this year, it's year to year. His contract is year to year, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, every year, it's team option every year, regardless of the contract. So there's team option. He signed a 4-year deal, and there's team option after every year. So they can get rid of him at any time they want to. So I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work out for him. He went to the playoffs, looked like he was having fun. He's over there with Rich Bisaccia. People like playing with Jordan Love. So, he maybe he's happy up there. Green Bay is like a tight-knit community. It's a little bit different, a little bit slower. I know he's from Oklahoma, so maybe that's kind of more his speed. So he might love it up there. So maybe that's, maybe he found his happy place.
Raider Smoke, my guy, with a super chat, man. Appreciate the support once again, man. He says Max seemed all in on his podcast. Seems like they're going to extend him. Pause.
First of all,
man, I'm just going to give you a simple pause. Loved how Pete and Spike just said they're going to go after it right away. Yeah, man. Hey, look, they said all the right things. Spike said all the right things. Pete Carroll had the confidence. He sense of humor. He just added everything was going, man. You got a Raiders chant during the pressure from Marshawn. It was just everything. I thought it was one of the better pressures that we've seen in recent history from the Raiders, and we've seen a lot of them. We've seen a lot of coaches and GMs. I think I seen a crazy stat. This is the Raiders' 5th head coach and GM since moving to Vegas in 2020, which is crazy. Yeah. Just to think about it. That's a lot, especially because when you think about it, a GM is supposed to be there for more than at least 3 to 5 years, you know what I mean, before you evaluate that spot, because that's what they're there for. They're there to build a team. But coach says, man, hey man, my guy with the super chat. He says tough loss to the Eagles, severe. You'll get them next time, man. You'll get them, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, man. That's what I'm trying to look. I kept trying to tell everybody. Everybody talking about Jaden Daniels got all these weapons. He got bro, like they completely let that man down, bro. Like just the amount of turnovers. Like that game was basically turned off on turnovers. Like when they possessed the ball and didn't turn it over, they basically they scored most of the time. Like it's just those turnovers killed them, man. And the Eagles capitalized on every single one. Every single one.
Arturo says, do you think Najee Harris is gonna leave Pittsburgh for Oakland for the Raiders? I mean Oakland. Oakland of Las Vegas? Oakland of Las Vegas? Yeah, I mean I don't think that's happening. I don't think that's happening. Because he's gonna want a contract. I don't think the Raiders should. Yeah. It don't make any sense because the way teams attack free agency, they attack it by also evaluating the draft. Like if they know there's going to be a lot of running backs available in the draft, why invest, a lot of money into the running back? Because I'm sure he's gonna Najee. Last year was his contract year. He's probably gonna want to get paid, and the Raiders don't have to do that. I'd rather go Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, get him on a 1-year deal. Prove a deal.
Nick Chubb is hurt too much though, man. Like that's the thing. Like he's hurt all the time. Man.
Our incentive 1-year deal, I would do it, and you draft a running back. You know what? I like that. Nick Chubb Nick Chubb when he's healthy is better than any running back that we've had. He's better than Josh Jacobs. He's better than Najee Harris.
He's better than any running back we've had since Darren McFadden, since the healthy Darren McFadden.
Yep, facts.
But the thing about it is that he always hurt, bro. It's like he always hurt. So in terms of Najee Harris, I can see why people are connecting those dots. Because Najee Harris is from the Bay Area. I think he's from Oakland specifically. I could be wrong on that. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I know he's from the Bay Area, so there may be some Raider ties there. He might have grew up a Raider fan. I'm not sure, but I think that's what connected us there. But like you said, I think he's looking to get paid. And I'm not trying to pay running backs. If Nick Chubb is willing to take a super cheap deal, I mean like just stupid cheap. Like, it had to be dumbass cheap. If you're willing to take something that cheap, then maybe you do it. But
I'll do it.
Always hurt though. He always hurt. Like it's still like you still.
Look. When you have the worst. Look, my thing is when you have the worst running back room in the league, arguably, when you have the worst quarterback room in the league, arguably, then you exhaust all your resources to upgrade that spot. You got to get better because you got to be able to run the football, and you got to be able to have a quarterback back there that can, at least play decent back there. And I think. For the Raiders, that means free agency. That means trading for guys. That means the draft. Hey, who else would you get? What other? There's probably some other options out there, but like, I don't think I've seen any good free agent running backs out there that's worth paying. I only mentioned Nick Chubb is because you can offer him a cheap contract. He's coming off a down year. He's injured. You can give him like a cheap deal. He might not make it out of camp. Who knows? It's kind of like a low risk, high reward move. And I like those type of moves. If you do that, in certain spots on your team, I think that's a win-win. Let's see here. Man, we got people pulling up left and right, man. But appreciate everybody coming through. But go ahead.
I mean, I think is the Cowboys running back. I think he's a free agent. I think he had a pretty good year. Rico Dowdle. Is Tyler Algier is he a free agent? Somebody check on that.
I think.
Somebody said Javonte Williams for the Broncos. Is Tyler Algier? He's somebody I like. I think the back that came in, he got a small sample size, but. Who Tyler Algier? Yeah, I mean, but I'm dead set on drafting 2 running backs. Like we've already kind of made that up in my mind. I roll with 2 rookies. Bro. Before I would take 2 rookies, let them fight it out, and we see what happens. If you want to bring back Sincere, if you want to bring back a back that's always hurt, we got Sincere already on the roster. Cool right there. Had to do it.
Javonte Williams. Damn, you cold.
Javonte Williams. Yeah, he's from the Broncos, right? That's the Broncos running back.
I'm not. That's one of those like yeah, all right. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but it's just like I like the low risk, high reward moves because I know that the Raiders are going to address that position in the draft, and it's a good draft to get a couple of running backs. And if you add a guy like Nick Chubb, if he shows out, good. You got a veteran running back you're able to lean on, and then you can bring in some of these young running backs slowly because we all know what happens. I mean, you don't want to throw a rookie out there. I guess a running back is one of those positions where they kind of come into the league ready to go. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Usually if they're good, they hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Figuratively and literally.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. SoCal says Chubb would have to take a food stamp cheap contract. Man.
Yeah, bro. I'm drafting two, bro. I'll go back to back, third, fourth round. I'm drafting 2 running backs, man. Cam and Travion, Amarion and Caleb. I'm drafting 2 running backs, man. I'm good. You want to get Devin Neal? Like I'm drafting 2 backs. Hey, let's do it like that. Let's do it like that. And we can bring in an older vet that can kind of mentor him. If that's the case, like, hey, if Madison want to stay around to kind of be a mentor for him, hey, I'll bring him back, on a super cheap deal.
Yeah, look, man, Arnie says, damn man, Tom Cable is connected with the Raiders again.
Yeah, I heard that too. Oh,
can we just let it go?
That's another.
Just let it go, man. Just let it go, man. We can't. That's what scares me about Pete Carroll, man. Like, but I'm just. Come on, man. Tom Cable, and you know what? Ask Seattle fans about Tom Cable. They hate his guts.
Bro. Yeah, he went to the Seattle after he left us. After we ran him out of town, he went over there, and they hated him. And then John Gruden brought him back. And then as soon as we get rid of him, what happens? Josh Jacobs lead the league in rushing. It's like, bro, you gotta learn your lesson, man. You gotta learn your lesson. And it's the problem with Pete is that he's had some questionable. That part of the reason why Seattle got rid of him is because he was poor toward the end of his career there, or the end of his tenure there, in hiring coordinators, in hiring his coaching staff. He fell off considerably. And that's part of the reason why they ushered him out. So, he hopefully took that year off, and he whatever he did between his time with the Patriots and the Trojans, and he figured out something. Hopefully he does the same thing here. But, his track record of hiring offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators had not been great. Now, he's had some great position coaches. Like I think he had Chris Richard on his as a position coach. He had Robert Saleh as a position coach. He had Dave Canales as a position coach. But guess what? He had all these guys as talent on staff, and none of them at any point were ever elevated to the position of coordinator. That should be low key troubling.
FBA says Carroll said bringing in guys who knows his system. Please no. He also said that he's gonna also bring guys that are that are young, innovative, and guys that's been here too. He's going to try to keep some guys from the staff that was here previously. So, a guy like Robert Leonard, Patrick Graham, we'll see what that looks like. But I think it's a combination. I think that's what he's looking for, which I'm not mad at. But Tom Cable, I would pass on that. Bevel, I'm also going to pass on that too as well. But, hey, they're going to be making those decisions. And as far as, look, I know people are kind of talking about like my running back take. Look, I'm not saying I've been said we need to draft 2 running backs. I'm Mr. Let's draft 2 running backs. But just because I said, hey, you know what? We got to do what we have to do to upgrade the worst running back room in the NFL. And if that means signing a guy to a 1-year cheap incentive-based contract, a low risk, high reward move, I have no problem with that because you don't know how the draft is going to shake out. Because if the Raiders trade up to get their quarterback of the future, then that means they're not going to have the picks that they would want to get some of these running backs, right? Get some of these players to upgrade. So you got to upgrade the team at all spots as much as you can. And if you can get someone on the cheap, I'm not mad at it. And if Nick Chubb can come in on the cheap, I'm not mad at it. And some guys, you mentioned Algier from the Falcons, that would be a solid option. I think that would be a trade though. I think he's under contract. If he's under contract.
If he's under contract, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. If he's under contract, I'm not trading. I'm not trading like a 3rd round pick or whatever it would take for Algier. But I could draft a younger running back that could potentially be better with that same pick. So I'm not doing it. Hey, get him, chat. Get him like y'all be trying to get me. Get on his neck.
Would you guys have Tom Cable back or Dennis Allen? I mean, Dennis Allen was just hired a defensive coordinator for which I like Dennis Allen as a DC.
Yeah,
not a head coach.
As a DC, Dennis Allen's one of the better DCs in the league. I'll take Dennis Allen as DC in a minute. I'm not touching him as a head coach. He's like Josh McDaniels. He is the defensive version of Josh McDaniels, except he ain't got no Super Bowl rings, I don't think. Or does he? Does he have? I don't think so.
Yeah, man. Coach says they're not going to trade up. Hey, you never know. You never know. Telesco, you know what I mean? Best player available, Telesco special, man. Like he was let go. And, a lot of it has to do with maybe Brady and everybody in that building wanting to start fresh. But at the same time, Telesco's never really been aggressively he's not a guy that's aggressively traded up before. He's had, but not a lot of examples. Raiders need a quarterback. They're picking number 6. Cam Ward and Shador most likely are going to be gone by then.
Yeah.
Take it however you want it, man. I hopefully they don't trade up. I hope they don't trade up because I don't think this is a draft. Yeah, I hope they don't trade up. I don't think this is a draft that you would want them to trade up, but that's just me.
If they do, the only one I would do it for is Cam Ward. But if they do it, they're for sure taking Shador. So that's why I don't want them to do it. Not that I think Shador's going to be bad, but I don't think the upside is there, like you said. Cam Ward has a much higher ceiling, in my opinion.
Right. Hey, man, but let's move the show along real quick, man. Hey, man, we wanted to talk about the press. We kind of man, we were on that a little bit, but let's actually get on to flag on the play.
69 offense. He was giving them the business.
So this week on Flag on the Play, if you're just joining us for the first time, man, Flag on the Play is anything we have an issue with. It could be football related, anything related, but Raiders related. It's just anything. I mean, we could talk about this honorable mentions. Obviously, this weekend, the Chiefs and the refs are always going to be candidates for Flag on the Play. But this week, you wanted to get on a former player in Chris Kenny. And he recently was called out because he had a take earlier in the season about Jalen Hurts not being a top 10 QB. And then, later on in the season, people had receipts. And he tried to Michael Jackson moonstep, you know what I mean? He tried to moonwalk. He tried to act like he never said that. But let's go ahead and see this clip real quick. You'll see what I'm talking about here. Let's see here. Go.
A top 10 quarterback?
No.
Jalen Hurts
I don't have Jalen Hurts as a top 10 quarterback.
He was hurt last year.
Yeah, that's great. That's all good. All well and good. I don't have Jalen Hurts as a top 10 quarterback.
Okay,
here's my list, Molly. I got Patrick Mahomes, which understood and got to be said.
Fair.
Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, C.J. Stroud, Justin Herbert.
Wait. C.J.
Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, and Brock Purdy. Of the list of quarterbacks I just gave you, there's only one quarterback on that top 10 list that has lower odds to win MVP in 2024, and that guy is Trevor Lawrence. That's it. Everybody else has better.
The criticism that we've all had about the Eagles ain't about the players on the field. It's been about the coach. I had Jalen Hurts as a top 10 quarterback coming into this season. I'm just now looking back at my notes.
I also had him outside the top 10 at one point.
No, I had him as a top 10 quarterback coming into the season. I'm sitting here looking at my notes.
Yeah, there's clips online from First Take and this show of you saying I don't have Jalen Hurts in the top 10.
Okay, all right. I'm just telling you the list.
Stuttering, going. Hey, he was. Man, definitely flag on the play, man. Hey, man, Chris Canty, you got to just stand on what you said earlier in the season. I don't understand. I think people are kind of afraid to be wrong. And I think one of the best things about this show is that we're not afraid to be wrong on the 50-50 show. Like, hey, look, I'm outspoken when it comes to that. I hope I'm wrong with some of my takes about the Raiders. But sometimes, hey, you know what? Sometimes I'm right. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm wrong. We're all the media tries to cover up a lot of the things that they say. Sometimes they'll be so adamant, acting like it's factual, and act like this is exactly what's going to happen, and they end up being wrong. But no one ever talks about that. I think this is a case where Chris Canty, a former player who's in the media, tried to. Man, the social media is undefeated, and man, and you know what? You know who's undefeated? His co-host, whoever was in.
Oh, they called him out quick.
Whoo, he called him
out quick. Like, you said it on this show. You said it on First Take. You know what that remind me of? If everybody's seen it, it's like, remember Rick James, like, I never do things just to do things. Like, what do you think I'm just going to jump up and grind my feet on Eddie Murphy's couch? He's like, yeah, I remember grinding my feet on Eddie Murphy's couch. Cocaine is a hell of a drug. Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Man, definitely flag on the play on Chris Canty, man. Just stand on what you said. I don't. The crazy thing is that, like, he could have easily just said, you know what? In the beginning of the season, I felt like Jalen Hurts was in the top 10 QB, but you know what? He surprised me, and no one would have thought less of him. I don't think anybody was like, oh, you know what? It is what it is. A player plays better, you know. Sometimes players, but he tried to act like he never even said it. That's the crazy thing. So. Man. We got to call it like we see it, man. Definitely flag on the play on Chris Canty, man. Man, that's disgusting, man.
But know what that is? That gives you insight into how the media works, because on his notes, he had Justin Herbert. He had Jalen Hurts as a top 10 quarterback in his own notes. But what he was doing right there is he was searching for a hot take.
Yep.
In that initial clip where he says he's not top, he was searching for a hot take. He was looking for a viral moment for to blow up and get attention. So he went against what he actually thought in search of attention. So later on, when he's going through his real thoughts, he's like, oh, I never said that. This is my thoughts right here. Like, nah, brother, you was out here clickbaiting.
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence being in the top 10 after this season is it's looking a little bit questionable, but. You know, hey, man, NFL sometimes it's a year-to-year league, too, as well. So maybe one year you might think a guy's in the top 10, but you know, Hurts, I think Hurts is just, he benefits from being, I also say this, Hurts does benefit from being on a really talented team. And the Eagles are showing the league, if they end up winning the Super Bowl, which I hope they do, they're showing the NFL how you could win and not have a top 5, top 3 quarterback. You know, because the best player on that team is Saquon, and he's carrying his team right now.
Yeah, but see, it took so much for them. Because, well, first of all, remember how bad the Eagles were? Remember 2 years before? The year they drafted Devontae Smith, we stomped a mud hole in them. I want to say it was in Philadelphia. We beat the brakes off of them. And then, 2 years later, they were in a Super Bowl. And remember, everybody's talking about these press conferences and how impressed they are with Pete Carroll's press conference and how clean it was, how good it was. Remember Nick Sirianni's press conference? People were ready to fire him after his press conference. They're like, bro, get this dude. Same thing, and similarly, Dan Campbell. After his press conference, people was like, what is this dude? Is a psychopath. Like, this dude, he ain't no coach. This dude is weird. And look, these press conferences don't mean a damn thing. You rather they go well than not. But at the end of the day, it don't mean nothing if you can't produce the product on the field. But the Eagles are a special situation because they had a lot of things fall in place for them. Like, that they had the Titans GM was dumb enough to trade away A.J. Brown to him. Like, they had Devontae Smith kind of fall in their laps. They had Jalen Carter, who was probably, might be their best defensive player, fall in their laps. They had Quinyon Mitchell, who in my opinion was one of the better defensive players in this past draft, fall in their laps. Same thing with Cooper DeJean, right? They were able to bring over Zach Bond from I forgot who he was with, but he's one, turned into one of the better linebackers in the league. Like they've had a lot of lucky breaks. Then they had the piece de resistance which is Saquon Barkley, the Giants being foolish and letting him get out of their hands because they were smart. They had already built up their entire roster. So when you have your entire roster already built up, guess what you can do? You can spend money on luxury products like that. Running backs are luxuries, but when you have everything else in place, when you have an offensive line, when you have a solid quarterback, when you have a good receiving core, when you have a solid tight end, when you have a defense built, guess where you can spend money now if you have money? On a running back. Like that, most teams can't do that, but they were in a position where they could do that because that was like the missing piece, and it's proven to be, to make all the difference in the world for them.
Yeah, I'll disagree with you on this part when saying that the Eagles lucked out. I think when something happens more than once, you got to give credit to arguably you can make an argument the best GM in the NFL, Howie Roseman. Every year he finds a way to make that team more talented. Every year, you got to give him a little bit of credit. I think he's part of the reason why the Eagles are pretty talented. I mean, he was there with Andy Reid, right? He was there. I think he was there. Was he there?
I think so.
Near the end.
What I mean by lucked out is that I think that people he took advantage. Well, it's not even luck. He took advantage of other people's missteps, which is that skill. Like we decided not to take Jalen Carter, and so did however it's like not 8 other people in front of him, and he fell to him. Quinyon Mitchell, and like in my opinion, like I said, I thought he was the best defensive player in his previous draft. Right, nobody in front of him wanted to take the best corner in the draft. Okay, I'll take him. Like shoot, I need to So he's been able to other people have made mistakes. And he's capitalized on it, and that's smart. That's skill.
Yeah, but B also he for sure has his own big board. I mean that the Eagles have their own big board. They have a ranking of who they think is the best player in the draft, second best player, so on and so forth. And he's able to, like you said, capitalize on those moves. And look, you've been following the Raiders all your life, right? They are a team that doesn't capitalize on they don't capitalize a lot, right? They don't draft well. That's the reason why they've pretty much been bad and have rosters like they have lately. I mean, when they've had a good picks like the Max Crosbys, you can see the benefit of that. And a team like the Eagles, they're a team that they capitalize via trades. They win on trades. They win in the draft. They win in free agency. Howie Roseman, man, If Mark Davis wanted to throw a bag at somebody and he was serious about winning, and I'm not saying that he's not serious about winning. I think we'll see how it works out with Tom Brady and all that. But Howie Roseman, that dude is the best. I think he might be the best GM in the NFL. Best GM in the NFL because the moves that the Eagles do, man, every year to year. Yeah, go ahead.
I think him and Les Snead. I say him and Les Snead are probably the two best.
The Rams GM.
But perfect example, like you said, right? Yeah, the Rams. Yeah, because I don't know how the hell they keep winning. I don't know. I mean, part of that is having McVay.
That's McVay. That's McVay.
You got something.
Hell yeah, that's McVay.
Yeah,
but you know what?
But guess what? But guess who hired McVay?
Les Snead.
So I mean, but and I look at it like this. In terms of the Eagles, it's like they're a perfect example of what we're not. Like we had the opportunity to draft Jalen Carter, and what do? We pass on the Tyree Wilson. Like a smart GM says, "Oh, this is the consensus best player in the draft at a position of need. I'm taking this guy." Like it's easy. Like but we make the simple difficult. They just do the simple things consistently and make the right decisions consistently. We consistently make stuff more complicated than it has to be, and that's why we're in a position we're in.
Yeah, man. And Eagles are super aggressive. They get their guys in the building. I mean, SoCal Sal made a point. He says the last regime wouldn't have been able to handle a Jalen Carter. Eagles can have vets everywhere. Man, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. That was one of those
you got Max Crosby, you got Adam Butler, you got Robert Spillane. Like you got vets, you got good vets.
That's just one. That was like a tough situation because I understand why the Raiders because I'm sure like McDaniels and Ziegler, they knew Jalen Carter was probably the best player on the board, but I think it might have been a case of like Mark Davis saying no, like vetoing it, and be like, no, we can't have a guy like that. Like that's a PR nightmare, especially with the issues he had in college as far as with the car situation and Vegas. We all know it, man. But
yeah.
But it just looks like a bad move after the fact because look at Tyree. You know what I mean? Look at Tyree and look at what Jalen Carter is doing. Jalen Carter looks like he looks like he's gonna be the best. He's gonna look like the best D tackle for the next how many years? And then on a point about Les Snead too, he bounced back when what's his name retired too. As far as like that D line is pretty solid.
They actually have more sacks. They've actually had more sacks.
Mm-hmm.
The run defense is worse, but this is a passing league. So, but that's what happens. Like good teams, good personnel departments, they're not reactionary. They're not emotional. You don't let the PR side dictate football decisions. You make the smart football decisions, right? And that's what you do. Like people were calling for Nick Sirianni's head after year one. They wanted him gone. But they weren't reacting. Like Mark Davis would have fired him. Oh, yeah, man, get him out of here. The fans don't like him. He was awkward in the press conference. Let's fire him. But now look at Nick Sirianni. Because we are reactionary. We're emotional. Especially fans by nature are reactionary and emotional. So we let stupid stuff like that affect us. But good organizations don't let that outside noise affect what they're doing. They do what's right for the organization and what's right for the team. That's why they can take a guy like Jalen Carter and make it work. And we're scared to take them because, people might be mad at us because of what happened a few years ago. Let them be mad. And when we win games, they'll forget about they were mad.
Right. Real quick, Rishi Rock says Eagles are ready to fire Sirianni. I remember this. There was some noise about this with 5 minutes versus the Rams, but I respect that no tolerance for BS. If Sirianni wins a Super Bowl, he's the greatest Eagles coach, 2 Super Bowl appearances in 3 years. That's a good. Is Sirianni underrated? No one really talks about Sirianni. I mean,
nobody talks about it.
Because you know what it is. When we talk about the Eagles, we just talk about how talented they are. We talk about Howie Roseman and like how he's able to put together a roster every year, like just be able to upgrade and make it even better and better. And obviously, guys like Jalen Carter and the year before. I mean, Jordan Howard how is he doing? He's not doing. He hasn't really. He's not doing anything with them.
Oh, talking about Jordan Davis.
Jordan Davis, my bad. Jordan Davis, yeah, Jordan Davis, my bad.
D tackle.
Yeah,
but I said Jordan Howard's running back. Well, I think he did play. I think he did play for the Eagles too for a minute, but ironically, but now remember how bad the Eagles were. The Eagles
Jordan
were
Howard.
the Eagles were bad. Like that he did play for the Eagles though, so technically I was like, man, what? I don't even think you are. He's like, you weren't completely wrong, but they were bad. That first year with Sirianni, they were a bad team. They were pretty bad. Like they were pretty bad coming off those Doug Peterson years. Like they were down. Like Nick Sirianni is doing his job as a coach.
Yep. That was Jalen. I think that was.
And remember, we were just.
Yeah. Now I was gonna say that was Jalen Hurts' first year, starting, and I remember, I think the Raiders played the Eagles that year. We ended up like blowing them out, I think, or like we won that game. I think we won that game.
Beat the crap out of them.
And the year later, they win a Super Bowl with Nick Foles at QB. But hey, man, you got to give it credit, man. Look. Right now we're and that's the thing too, and that's one of the biggest things that we've talked about as far as our head coaching situation. Even though Pete Carroll is the head coach, we're gonna be talking about this head coaching job in a year or two. You know what I mean? We're gonna, if we're being honest, like because every year, I mean, if we end up being competitive right away and going to the playoffs, I think we're probably not going to talk about it too much. But obviously, if it's going to be a year where we miss the playoffs, but we're competitive, I think we're going to question like, all right, you know what? All right, who's the next guy up? Who's going to be the next? Because that's the thing too. We don't know the answer to that, right? Like, we don't know. All we know is that Pete Carroll is the head coach, and he's going to be there to be that culture, bring the culture back to the Raiders, or however way you want to say it.
That's the plan.
That's the plan. And then I guess he's going to have it, he's going to develop a team where the next guy is going to be ready to go and interested in. So it's not even going to be a situation where he brings someone along, or I don't know. I don't know what, we talked about that, but I don't know if we've heard anything about him maybe kind of like bringing a young guy in as a head coach, or, molding him into a head coach. I mean, maybe that happens. Maybe Patrick Graham might be the guy if they end up hiring him, or maybe it's a young guy on staff. I don't know. I don't know what that's going to look like. Or the Raiders are just going to be like, you know what? Let Pete Carroll have this next 2 or 3 years, and then we'll reevaluate it after that. Maybe that's their plan. I don't know. It's hard to say. But let's move it along, man. We're not done with flag on the play. Like we said earlier, the Raiders weren't the only team to have a presser for their coach. And recently the Jaguars hired their head coach in Liam Cohen. And, hey, we got to give a flag for Liam Cohen, man, because he had some interesting words to the Jaguar media. And I'm like, man, did you have any awareness? I mean, especially with everybody talking about how you handled the situation with leaving the Bucs. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video, and y'all can react to it as well.
Results will speak for themselves. And that's really what this is going to come down to, is honesty. I want to surround ourselves with people that are going to be able to tell you hard truths, be able to show you your blind spots, because that's really, like I mentioned, where growth occurs, when you can truly be yourself and be honest with looking in the mirror, knowing that process to get you there was clean and it was right, and the results will speak for themselves. And that's.
Whoo. Flag on the play on Liam Cohen, man. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Honesty is the best policy, especially when everybody's questioning how you handled the Bucs situation and pretty much acting like you weren't interested in the job and using the Bucs to obviously get the Jaguars job. But I felt like it's kind of, and you know what it is? I'm sure that there are other people do this as well when they're negotiating, but it's just, it's out there, and you're coming out and saying honesty is the best policy, and that's one of the things that he wanted to lead. It just sounds like he has no awareness as far as even I'm not gonna lie. Did you hear him say Duval the other day? I think that's like their thing out there, and he just, the way he said it's like Duval, like it was terrible. Yeah, it was just terrible.
But you gotta excuse him, man, because he's been taking care of his sick kid, man. So you gotta excuse him, man.
Hell no.
Yeah, man. I don't want to play around. Maybe if his kid is sick, look, we're not wishing bad on his kid or anything like that. But it's just, you're saying that your kid is sick, and then you're going to meet the Jaguars, and you're trying to keep it on the low so no one could find out. And then the messed up part about it is the Jaguars wanted to keep it quiet too, because they were bringing in Patrick Graham for an interview. Yeah, and that would have fulfilled the Rooney rule. And Patrick Graham probably didn't know that, and it was just like it was just kind of messed up all the way around. But yeah, honesty is the best policy, man. We got to give Liam Cohen flag on the play. And you know what? The way it's starting, pressures are not the end all be all. You made a mention about the Lions coach having a interesting first year in his pressure, and people remember him talking about I forget what did he say?
What, bite kneecaps off?
And what the thing is, that first year they didn't win. So, but after that, the rest is history. He was able to. The Detroit Lions obviously are one of the best teams in the NFL, but
I think I saw in the chat that coach corrected it. Actually, he said Nick Sirianni's first year they actually did go to the playoffs, and he's right, they did go. So they went the year before. I think Doug Peterson was like 3-13 or something like that. They were super bad the year before. and then they hired Nick Sirianni. But what it was the first year, why it was, people thought it was Fugazi because they went 0-6 against teams that were like over 500 or something like that. Like they didn't beat a team with a winning record, but they still made the playoffs. So they is absolutely right. And then I think the next year they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Chiefs with Jalen Hurts. That's when it was that controversial call.
Oh, did they make a playoff run the same year that they lost to the Raiders?
Yeah, they was in the playoffs that year. They went 9-8.
Oh wow. Okay. I thought they had a tough season then. Okay. Yeah, they didn't look like a good team when they played the Raiders, and the Raiders end up missing the playoffs. So look how that works out. But
exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, at the end of the day, flag on a play on Liam Cohen. That wraps up flag on a play. We had some honorable mentions. I think you had one to address as far as an honorable mention for flag on a play. It didn't make the cut, but just I forgot what you
I
had.
I forgot what it was. What was it?
It was oh man. Oh no. You know what? I know what it is. It's gonna be a notable quotable. It's gonna be a notable quotable.
Yeah.
That's what it is, man. Hey man, if you haven't already, make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Coach is on it today, man. He said they're 9-8. Okay, all right. Foles, you had the timeline mixed up. Okay.
Yeah. Foles beat Brady. Like they went to the Super Bowl and lost with Hurts.
Yeah. Dude lying to himself. Yeah, man. I know, man. I think the Raiders. I think there's a reason why the Raiders didn't offer or didn't request an interview, because they didn't request the interview for Liam Cohen. They didn't request the interview with Todd Monken, but obviously that never happened. I think that might have been a case of him maybe rejecting the request. I don't know, whatever the case may be. It just never happened. They never scheduled an interview. But Liam Cohen, was a guy that, early on in the process that, Raiders could have been a possible situation where the Raiders could have maybe considered him a head coach, but man, Jolie, yeah, man, Duval, yeah, it was terrible. It's terrible. But we'll see. What's the dude from Jacksonville? Comedian, it's like social media comedian. It's like Lil Duval. It's like Lil Duval. Yeah. He had a funny video where he's acting like he's out somewhere on vacation, just looking at his phone when he said where he hears Liam Cohen like react to it or say Duval, he literally, we're going 0-17 and he just Duval. Because I'm trying to think, like, imagine if he came to it was a Raider presser and he tried to say Raiders and he said go Raiders, 1, 2, 3, go Raiders or something like that, something corny like that. I think Raider Nation would have let him have it for sure. But yeah,
sure.
Man, something to do with the county of his wife's running cover for. Yeah, I seen that. Yeah. But sometimes the media might have it wrong, but it sounds like they might have it right this time around. But Steve Cordova says, I think Carroll will turn your franchise around. Okay, Eagles fan, man. Hey, man, I'm not an Eagles fan, but I'm gonna be an Eagles fan when you guys play the Chiefs, man. So hopefully y'all win that Super Bowl. He says, I think Carroll will turn your franchise around. You guys need a quarterback to build around. Thanks for the Howie credit. Oh yeah, man. We gotta. We're not gonna lie about it. Like,
yeah. And me and Pharaoh been plotting on how to steal Howie from y'all forever, bro. We was trying to look up, could they trade first round picks for Howie? We was looking up if we hire him as president of football operations, could we steal him? We've been trying to steal Howie for a minute.
Yeah, man. Rose says take Jazz. Coming out cocky. Lewis says, what do y'all think about the team bringing in Stafford? Oh, we talked about that earlier. If he's available, I'll be open to it. But then also I'm thinking, what would the trade compensation look like for a guy like Stafford, who is at least a top 15 quarterback? Some might say even top 10.
Yeah, exactly. And he's older, and he wants the bag.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I'm not. Yeah.
If trading for Stafford would definitely be a win now move. It would be a win now move for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a situation that's not going to be, or it might be an expensive bridge quarterback situation. I think the Raiders.
I'm not doing it.
You're not doing it?
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not.
How?
I'm not doing it. If I thought we can actually, if I thought we were in position to win a Super Bowl, like the Rams were, okay, I'll do it. But I don't think we'll be in position to win a Super Bowl by the time Stafford, by the time he's like done, or he's below a guy that can lift your team.
Hey man, I didn't catch that.
Oh, bro, I caught at the end. I caught that. When he said Raiders Nation. Oh, bro, you know I caught that. Oh, bro, flag.
That's an honorable mention right there, man. Well, hey, but you peep that, like, when GMs and coaches, they're aware of what teams they go to and what to say, what the culture is. You know, obviously Liam Cohen, he missed the the memo on how to pronounce Duval. But Pete Carroll, one of the things he was saying, he was like, "Oh, I'm from the Bay Area. I'm aware of the Raiders." When he says stuff like that, it's to get people to buy into what he's saying. It's like I'm connect. Same thing with Spytek. Spytek, he, in his own way, he said, he didn't say I grew up a Raider fan or anything like that, but he said, I'm glad that I'm a GM for one of these. Exactly,
bro. Like it's that's what I'm saying, bro. Like people like that's what I'm saying. Like I be hearing these, but they checked all the lists. Like, oh, say the Raiders are one of the most iconic franchises. Check. Say that this is their favorite thing to say. This is one of their favorite. Oh, the NFL is better when the Raiders are good. Check.
Right.
Say I was a Raiders. Like this dude Pete Carroll said I was a 49ers fan and then I became a Raider. Like who do you know was a 49ers fan and then switched to being a Raider? Dude, you a bald-faced lie. But that's like they gotta check the boxes. They gotta check the box, bro. And that's all they doing is checking boxes.
Man, hey man, shout out to Steve, man, with the super chat. Appreciate the support. He's let me see if I could get that. Let's see if I can find that Duval. I had it somewhere here. Let me see if I can find it, man. Oh man, people are clowning. Let's see.
Clowning.
Right. Okay. Here we go.
The community. Duval. Jacksonville. The community.
That sound, yeah, bro.
Duval.
that sound groomerish. That sound hella groomerish, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Man. He says, if Pete wants Jackson Dart, I will have positive hope he can make him what Severe been talking about. He looked okay at the Senior Bowl. I heard that some of the QBs struggled in Senior Bowl. We'll see. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's not the end of the week. So, but we'll see, man. I think that right now that's everybody's favorite quarterback right now is Jackson Dart. Everybody wants Jackson Dart to go to the Raiders right now. No one's really talking about Shador. Shador, I think some people feel like, he might go early, or maybe some people they like Jackson Dart. Would you rather have a Shador or a Jackson Dart? Later in the draft.
I have Shador ranked higher, but I think Jackson Dart, I think his ceiling may be a little bit higher than Shador.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. We'll see. I think, man, I can really, especially with Pete Carroll at head coach and his love for like building a good secondary. I can see the Raiders drafting Will Johnson at number 6. Abdul Carter is an option at number 6 if they can get him. Mason Graham. I know that there's some word that the Raiders are heavily looking at the D line at the Senior Bowl, so that might be. Maybe that might be a clue what they might be looking at in the draft early at number 6. So, not to say that there's someone in the Senior Bowl that they'll draft at a D lineman, but if they're looking at D line, maybe they think they need to upgrade there or maybe add some talent, because who knows, man? They might not bring back the Malcolm Coots of the world. They might not bring a Clavion Chason, who was pretty solid last season. So. And opposite of Max Crosby, who do you got? I mean, Tyree Wilson, this regime didn't draft him. They're probably not going to be high on him. I mean, but we'll see. We'll see what it looks like, man. Appreciate the super chat, Steve. Let's move along, man, to notable quotables. This is where we play, some notable quotables, some notable quotes. Hold on one second, my bad. And we react to it. And if Severe, if you want to give the first quote, the intro to the first quote here. Let's see.
So we all know how, for a long time it was kind of talked about and rumored that the Raiders were essentially, the front runners to be the team to hire Ben Johnson away from the Detroit Lions. And then later those rumors were dispelled, and owner Mark Davis, he went to a little bit more detail about, exactly what would transpire between the Raiders and Ben Johnson.
No, we didn't think we had Ben Johnson. We never made an offer to Ben Johnson, and he's a Chicago Bear.
When you looked at Johnson?
No, we didn't think we had Ben Johnson. We never made an offer to Ben Johnson, and he's a Chicago Bear.
You know what? And we talked about this before, man. When shout out to Raider Rundown, we had him on the show last week, and we talked about, like, was there a possible chance that the Raiders were used as leverage? And hindsight is 2020 now. Like, we can look back at it and be like, yeah, of course we're losing leverage. He literally, the first day, that Monday, lost on Saturday. That Monday, he signs a contract with Chicago Bears. He didn't even go visit the Raiders. He didn't even try to go visit the Raiders and maybe entertain the idea of possibly being a Raider. He went to Chicago Bears. He knew where he was going, and I think a big part of that decision was a quarterback. So I can buy into that, but also the other side to me is the Raiders are not going to admit that they didn't offer him a contract. Like, they're not going to admit that. They're not going to admit that they were all in on Ben Johnson, especially when they hired a Pete Carroll. They're not going to admit that at this point. They don't want that embarrassment of, like, oh, we just got rejected. What's your take on it?
I mean, it's exactly what I've been saying the entire time. Like, the Raiders, and I don't even think Ben Johnson used the Raiders. This is exactly what I said. I said there were people on the Raider side that heard that the interview or the interaction they had with Ben Johnson went extremely well. So they started putting it out there that the Raiders are they're front runners for Ben Johnson. They're front runners for Ben Johnson. But in Ben Johnson's camp, they didn't deny it. They never said, oh yeah, we're interested in the Raiders or the Raiders are our team. They just didn't deny it. And and what does Sun Tzu say? Amidst chaos, there's opportunity. And so they just let that story linger out there. We're not gonna stop it, right? We're gonna let you guys keep on saying that, and if that helps build leverage for us, so be it. But we're not going to do anything to dispel it. And I said the entire time, if it was really that close of a decision, you would interview in person with both teams. The fact that never happened lets you know everything you need to know about how close it wasn't even a close decision. And Mark Davis saying that they never offered a contract in like, to be specific, it's a semantics argument, because no, they couldn't ever officially offer a contract, because as soon as his time with Detroit was up, he was already taking a job with the Chicago Bears. So there wasn't really a window for them to officially offer a contract. But, I'm sure through intermediaries, Ben Johnson knew exactly what the Raiders would have given him had he decided to take that job there. Could they make an official offer? No, because until the end of that playoff game, an employee of the Detroit Lions. So trying to offer him a contract at that point would be against league rules. But he knew exactly what was on the table, and he still said no.
Nah, facts. Steve says, listen to the whole interview. Mark was talking normal, and once he was asked about Ben, he kept saying, pausing through sentences. Yeah, they're not going to admit that. They're not going to admit it. They're going to, they're not going to admit it, especially when it comes to certain dealings like that. They're going to keep that in-house. And especially, they just hired a coach. You know what I mean? They just hired Pete Carroll. They're not going to go out their way. They're not going to talk about another coach and the one that got away. That would be kind of a huge diss to Pete Carroll, who, obviously is a respectable coach in his own right, but even if it wasn't Pete Carroll, it would kind of be a huge shot at whoever they had in the building. So I don't think they're going to admit that they were even considering another candidate. A lot of teams, their MO is like, it's almost like when a player is drafted at a certain spot and someone asks, were you considering somebody else? They'd be like, no, this is our guy. I'm like, yeah, but the best player in the draft went pick number 1. So you're saying that you guys wouldn't have picked him? I'm sure that they would have probably picked another player at that spot if he was available. It's just, at the end of the day, once you draft a guy, you're all in, and they don't want the they don't want the backlash or the the narrative for that player to be like, oh man, they could have got him instead. They settled for so and so. But yeah, man. Hey, man, we're not done with the notable quotables. Appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure to click in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. I'm so thrown off. It is what it is, man. Let's go to the second notable quotable. And if you want to give the intro to this one, Severe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So notable quotable number 2, our recently hired GM, John Spytek, he was asked, this is after his introductory press conference. He did a few interviews with local media. And one thing we keep talking about that Pete Carroll is going to do is build culture. And that's the same thing we keep saying about John Spytek. That's what we were bringing them here to do, is to change the culture of the Raiders. And he was asked a question specifically about, what he about culture, about building culture. And this is the answer he gave to the media.
Besides the obvious winning, what does culture mean to you?
It means bringing the right kind of people in a team-oriented sport that aren't about themselves first. They're about the organization, the guy standing next to them, doing the right thing day after day after day. I think when you can build a culture that is the foundational piece, then you have a chance to be a really good team. Otherwise, you have a bunch of hired hands just out for themselves. And my experience has been that, yes, those teams are talented. Yes, they might win a division or a bunch of games, but ultimately they come up short when it matters most.
Besides the obvious.
So what's your take on Spytek?
I mean, it's a pretty canned answer. It's that's one of those answers that you kind of expect. But the most, what I take up from it the most is that he has a 5-year deal. So ideally, he has time. When you want to shift the culture and change the culture of an organization, you want it takes time. It's not nothing that's going to happen overnight. It takes some time. Even with Dan Campbell, right? Even he had that bad first year. He had a better second year and even better third year. But it's still taking time to shift that culture completely, right? And it's going to take time here as well, especially when you've gone through as many culture changes as we've gone through as well. If you listen to, he's not the most popular guy, but what Devontae was talking about, what happened with Josh McDaniels and why it didn't work with Josh McDaniels is the fact that he didn't have his type of players here. And, it's very difficult to learn that system and to be productive in that system. It takes a specific kind of person. But, he didn't have the requisite time to do that. So if you don't give, and even though he was flawed as a head coach anyway, but still it takes time to be able to build up that culture, be able to get the kind of guys you want, the kind of guys that fit into your system, that fit into how you want the team to operate. And that takes time. So hopefully we give Spytek time to enact his vision, because if not, we're just going to be doing the same thing over again in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, man. And you know what? I thought it was interesting too that Mark Davis talked about, Telesco and AP, and he was like, Telesco, good, solid draft, AP, the team play hard, but it takes more than that to be a head coach and GM. And then he also says, he's gonna be patient with Pete Carroll and Spytek. And I'm like, it's kind of interesting that you say that after you fire someone after 1 year, and like you kind of admitted that the team played hard for the head coach, and you also admitted that the GM had a solid draft, or the previous GM had a solid draft, And then he goes on to say, I'm going to be patient with Pete Carroll and Spytek. You know, hopefully that's the case. That's what we want, man. And we want stability. We want consistency. We don't want a revolving door at head coach and GM, especially GM, because that's, you know, you really got to reset when you fire a GM, to be honest with you, because now you got because are they going to go ahead? Are they going to get rid of everybody that's in the building currently, or are they going to keep some guys? It's kind of hard to say right now, especially because like they're so, you know, I think it takes a year for them to get all their guys in one building. Like,
yeah,
they're probably going to keep certain scouts in the building, and then finally by next year, I think they'll have everybody in the building as far as the guys that Spytek would want. Reese Rock, man, hey man, you had some good ones. Not gonna lie, man. So, this is back to the flag on the play. Let's see here. Let me see. He talked about the Cowboys presser. He said another notable quotable in that same Brian Schottenheimer press conference. They introduced them 4 to 5 claps. They introduced Stephen Jones. I think you said silence until Brian had 1 to 2 claps. Even Jerry Jones laughed. And I think you also talked about the same presser. Jerry Jones, another flag. Jerry Jones said at the Brian Schottenheimer press conference, basically, well, I know this decision looks dumb and everyone is confused, but we can make it work.
Yeah. Essentially. He didn't say that exactly. I don't know. I don't think he said that exactly, but he basically said something to that effect.
Hey, man. Hey, that's definitely flag on the play worthy for sure. Without a doubt. Hey, and you know what helps, guys? If y'all see some flag on a play worthy moments around the league, it doesn't even have to be necessarily about football. If it's just flag on a play, go ahead and send it over to either me and Severe on social media, IG or Twitter, and we'll consider it for a flag on a play. And obviously, we'll give you a shout out during the show. But these are some good ones. Hey, Reese Rock, man, you got some really good ones, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Reese Rock sent me another one. I want to say Reese Rock sent me another one about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I think I'll let you listen to it with the Jaden McDaniels.
Oh, yeah. Jaden McDaniels.
I was like, bro, come on now.
That's hilarious.
The disrespect.
Oh, interesting. I didn't see that. Coach, that's a good one, man. He says, Florio said Mark wanted to bring AP back, but Brady wanted to move on, and Mark gave in to Brady.
Damn. Brady cutthroat.
Man, you know what? Man, that's tough. That's tough. That's tough after 1 year. But, hey, you know what? Hey, you got to make – hey, look. Yeah. You got to make tough decisions, too. You got to be cutthroat. And if the Raiders start winning and the Raiders start winning, then Brady is going to have a big say, or at least I'll say influence on the Raiders' success moving forward, because, man, the way Pete Carroll just kept name dropping Tom Brady, it's like, oh, okay, we know who's in charge. We know who's in charge. He went out his way to basically kind of I don't want to say
he even made the joke. Remember the lady was like, "Oh, you brought up Tom Brady." He's like, "Oh, man, am I saying it too much?" He was like yeah. It's like,
you're saying it a lot, man. I'm not gonna lie. He kept name dropping him a lot. So I was like, whoa, all right. I was like, man, Mark. I guess maybe Mark wants it that way, but it's Brady is definitely in charge in Vegas, and it's crazy to say that because he's also a commentator in the NFL. It's crazy, man.
Look, just speaking of Florio, I was watching something with Florio earlier, and he was just breaking down how smart the move was by Mark to bring in Brady, and how big of an advantage it is for the Raiders, and how right now the league don't even realize how much of an advantage it is, and if it all works out, by the time they figure it out, it's gonna be too late. So, it's crazy.
Yeah, nah, and I think I seen that too. That was like I don't know if that was recent, but yeah, man, we'll see. And it wasn't just Brady too that Pete Carroll was talking about. He talked about the other owners too.
Yeah,
and how impactful it was when he came in. Like, he really believes in what the Raiders are doing. So we'll see how it shakes out. And hey, make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Man, let's move it along real quick, man. Let's go to what's real, what's not. This is where we say a statement. You let us know in the chat if it's real or it's not. And the first statement, speaking of Pete Carroll, with Pete Carroll leading the way, the Raiders will make the playoffs next year. Is that real or is it not? So I'm going to say this statement again. You guys react to it by saying if it's real or not. With Pete Carroll leading the way, the Raiders will make the playoffs next season. Let me know in the chat if it's real or not. I'm going to say, man, it's so hard because it's like really in the beginning of the offseason. And I want to see the moves. I want to see, but I think they narrowly missed the playoffs. I think they missed the playoffs for sure. I don't think they're going to go to playoffs first year. If I had to guess, but it's so early. This answer is definitely could possibly really change by the end of the offseason, especially because the draft, free agency. So I'm going to say that it is not real. Raiders probably finish with 7-9 record, 8-9 record with Pete Carroll's first year, because like Pete Carroll said, it took a couple of years in every stop that he went to get things going. So he didn't, like, I think he went 6-6. Someone said 6-6 at USC the first year. Obviously, he didn't make the playoffs. I don't think the first year with Seattle. So, you know, it takes a coach needs more than 1 year. A coach needs more than 1 year to establish the teams. There are exceptions to the rule, but I think the Raiders, narrowly missed the playoffs as of right now. My answer is subject to change. But Severe, what's your take?
That's not real. It's not real, man. But I think I agree with your record. I think 7-10, 8-9. I think we kind of go in that range. We don't have a quarterback. I think we'll be much improved defensively. Just I think we'll win more games just based off better quarterback play. So I think we bring in somebody. I think we're bringing a free agent, or we draft somebody. So I think we'll have better quarterback play, and I think we'll have just better health on defense, because it couldn't get much worse. For us, like, it'd be almost impossible to have worse injury luck than we had this past year. So just based off those two factors alone, I think we win more games. And then Pete Carroll, he's a better game manager than Antonio Pierce. We've had issues with Antonio Pierce's game management since he was interim coach, right? And it didn't get much better until the very end of his tenure as head coach of the Raiders. So just off those factors alone, I think we win more games. But without a good quarterback, without a great run game, I don't think we have enough to really compete at a very high level, no matter who the coach is. And I think Pete will do his best to keep the games close and turn them into ugly defensive battles. And I think we'll come out and win some of those games, especially since we have some of the best specialists in the league with Daniel Carlson and AJ Cole, and those guys are legit weapons for us. But I don't think, just with that quarterback piece, I don't think it's enough to get us into the playoffs.
Yeah, facts. And that goes back to what I said, man. Our answers are subject to change. If we get a quarterback in the building, we add some talent, we upgrade this roster, there's a chance, because every year I think there's always two new teams in the playoffs. I think that's been the case the last, I don't know how many years, but there's a stat out there that says every year there's always going to be at least two teams new in the playoffs, and that could easily be the Raiders, but it's hard to say, man. Obviously we don't have a quarterback in the building. We don't know what the offseason is going to look like. As of right now, I'm going to say it's not real. And then, like I said, Pete Carroll even said it in the same presser that it's going to take a couple of seasons to get it going. He says he's going to hit the ground running, but he also admits that it took a couple of seasons in his other previous stops, USC, Seattle, and other places like that. And it took a couple seasons before he had a competitive football team out there. But we'll see, man. Some people are saying it's kind of a mixed bag right now. Some people are saying it's real. SoCal says real if we have a damn QB. Kind of.
Yeah. So basically, he said not real.
Yeah. I like how he's being positive. He tried to be positive right there. He tried. He's trying. He's trying, man. Just give him a break. My source for funny quotables, The Land. Okay. Hey, look. Reese Rock, like I said, man, hey, you got a good eye for these notable quotables. I mean, these not the notable quotables, but the flag on a play. So if you got some good ones, man, keep sending them. Severe, or obviously myself, and obviously we'll put them on the show if it makes the cut, man, and we'll shout you out for sure, man. Appreciate you throwing in some honorable mentions out there, because that for sure, I think we probably would have been talking about the Cowboys situation. I think everybody's talking about the Cowboys situation, but we don't care about the Cowboys. I'm not gonna lie. I don't
exactly.
It's ESPN does, but not us. We don't care about the Cowboys. We heard the same thing about Jimmy G. We also you also said a new plan that will start now, no waiting. We'll see. Roof is 11-6. Lewis, hey man, 11-6. Whoo.
Damn. People got some high hopes, man.
Hey, man. Pete Carroll's known to have people buy in, man. It's just...
Man, telling you. Pete Carroll, all Pete Carroll had to do is say he was a Raiders fan. People were like, man, what? We went to 12 games.
Right. Let's see, man. People coming in left and right. It comes down, hey, Matt, exactly. All comes down to who our QB is. And right now, we don't have that.
Hey, one thing I peeped is that you can tell people, like, if somebody likes somebody, they'll give them grace. If they don't like somebody, they won't. Because you remember during a press conference at one point, and he never really had a great answer for it. I guess it was a good enough answer. It's a sufficient enough answer. They asked him like why did you come back or something like that? Like, you already have a Super Bowl ring and yada yada. And he was like, oh man, like, I don't care about championships. Like, if any other coach would have said that, let Josh McDaniels say some stuff like, oh man, I don't care about championships. It's not about championships. It's about the passion of the game. Like, they would have cooked this man. Man. But Pete Carroll, he's a charismatic dude. He's likable. He's affable. So people will let that slide. But any other coach says, oh, it's not about, I don't care about winning championships. It's not about adding another trophy to the trophy. Like, what? It's not about championships. Right. Like, what are you doing this for? Like, it's about championships for me. I want to see one before I die.
Yeah, facts. but to be fair though, those other candidates won't get that question because they've never been a champion. You know what I mean? At head coach. The reason why he was asked that because he won. He's won. And like, why at age 73 is he coming back to coach? Like, what's his main motivation? And hey, you know what? Hey, shout out to him, man. He's passionate about what he does. And you know what? A lot of people are co-signing it. That's another thing that we haven't really talked about. Everybody's co-signing, from former players, the media. Everybody's co-signing the Pete Carroll, and I hope everybody's right. But I think a lot of that, you gotta take it for. You got to take it. It sounds good, on paper, but you gotta look at it from a perspective like, this is a guy that's won a lot in his career, and he's built so many relationships. He's built so people know this guy, and they know that what he's capable as a head coach. But it's almost like when Kobe, after the Achilles injury, shout out to Kobe, the late great Kobe, he wasn't the same player at that injury.
No.
You know what I mean? But a lot of people had a lot of respect for him. Same thing with Pete Carroll. But Kobe was not going to be carrying a basketball team at that time after the injury, and like, he wasn't the same player. Same thing with Pete Carroll. I mean, I know he's not a ball player, he's a head coach, but still, being a coach is a grind. It's a grind, man. You got to travel every week. Traveling when you get older. And we all got we got grandparents. Older parents. Traveling from them, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of them, and that's not something that they want to do. A guy like Pete Carroll, he's gonna have to do that every week. It's a grind, man. And man, I don't know why people are like they're not like, and it's never been done before. I don't know why no one's actually looking into it and actually considering that, hey, you know what? But I guess right now it's the off season. Everybody wants to be positive. That's all.
It's the honeymoon phase, bro. It's the honeymoon phase. Like I said, he can get away with saying I'm not like Tom Brady was. I don't know. Tom Brady was in his late 30s, and you ask Tom Brady what motivated him. It was winning championships. He straight up said, like, I want to be so far ahead of these people. Like, they can't, like, I want to break all the records. I want to destroy. I don't even want them to be able to be, their names to be mentioned next to my name. Like, that's what I want to hear. Like, that's stuff I want to hear. I want to say, my drive at the end of the day is to hoist the Lombardi. I wake up every day with that goal in mind, hoist the Lombardi. You can say, oh, I want to win games. Okay, like, that's very arbitrary. What is win games? Like, there are a lot of teams winning games right now. At the end of the year, there's one team that has won the ultimate prize. And that's what every coach should be striving to win, the ultimate prize. Because that's the same thing we do with these teams that get put out of the playoffs, right? Like, oh, like they'll clown us for not making the playoffs, and then they get put out, and they will clown them for sitting right next to us. Well, if we're going to make fun of teams for making the playoffs and getting put out, then there's no point in talking about wins and losses if you're not winning championships.
Come on, man. Hey, man. New England Raider boosters, man, in the building, man. Appreciate you coming through. We had a pleasure having him on the show last week on Around the Shield. We dropped that every episode. I think last week was a live show on Thursday, but look out for an episode this week on Friday. But we had him on the show recently, and he has a channel. Make sure to subscribe to my guy. He says this is the worst season I've ever seen. Total dysfunction, lack of direction. Come on, man.
Bro, that's what we talking about, man. These people are so react. It's so reactionary and so emotional. Like, I've seen the team go 2-14. Like, I've seen a team with a coach that tried a 75-yard field goal to piss off the owner on purpose. Like, where the coach got fired using an overhead projector. And this is the worst season you've seen. Like, it's like I said, it's all reactionary, man. It's all emotional and in the moment stuff. It's no added context to it.
No, I gotta agree, man. I've seen worse seasons than this, man. Them are like the
way worse.
What mid 2000s? This is after the Raiders made a Super Bowl appearance from Tampa Bay, against Tampa Bay in San Diego. After that season, that run of Raiders team, oh my, it was so depressing, man. Like that
2-14 season with Art Shell. Come on, man. The 2-14 Art Shell season.
It was like a good.
It's not even close.
I think from 04, because I'm trying to think of, was it 04 or 05 to 2010, that 5-6 year stretch, got to be one of the ugliest football. I mean, Raiders, I don't know. It was bad. I've never, as bad as it's been recently, last season, obviously, I know it was a tough season. And I know the Raiders haven't been successful for a while now, but that run from 05 to 2010, maybe 2011, because I think when Tom Cable got there, he had like an 8-8 season. Hugh Jackson took over. It was actually watchable. You can actually watch those games and be like excited, like, oh, Darren McFadden, or you know what I mean? It was, Jacoby Fords. We had like, it was a little bit more, it got a little bit more exciting. But before they got there, before the Jason Campbells, was the Andrew Walters, the Marcus Tuiasopos, the Rick Myers, the man, I could go on. Kerry Collins, Randy Moss giving up on every route. You know what I mean? If he's not getting the ball. Doug Gabriel, Alvis Whitted, like it was just Jerry Porter, who I liked as a player, but had a huge ego, and he was on a bad football team. You mentioned Art Shell, and who was the bread and breakfast offensive coordinator. Like, man, it was bad. Tom Walsh, it was bad. It was bad back then. It was bad. Nothing was worse than that. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing's worse. It's not. It was unwatchable. At least we had the chance. We could enjoy watching Max Crosby. We could enjoy watching Brock Bowers. Like there's nothing to watch back then, bro.
We could enjoy an all-time great season from Brock Bowers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those seasons, I don't even know what Nnamdi. Nnamdi was the only guy I could be like, all right, this dude is prime time, great player. But outside of him,
did we have Nnamdi that year? Did we have Nnamdi that year?
In those dark years, the Raider dark years? Oh yeah, we had Nnamdi.
Or what about the Dennis Allen years when we won 4 games, or the Dennis Allen Tony Sperano year where when we went in that super long losing streak and we had to we buried the football. Like, bro, we was doing embarrassing shit like burying footballs, bro. You want to say this is? Come on, bro. This is not. Come on, man. People just come on, man. Come on.
No. This season was a bad season. Don't get twisted, but I don't think it's worse than those seasons.
Come on.
I don't. In my opinion, I don't think because, man, like it's recency bias sometimes. Like people.
The Dennis Allen years, man. Come on, man. The Dennis Allen years.
Nah, all you gotta see is Art Shell and Tom Walsh. That's all you gotta say. Art Shell, this second time around, Art Shell, and he hires a guy that was running a bed and breakfast as an offensive coordinator. Andrew Walter was a quarterback. Terrible team. Yeah. Like literally, we were getting. I don't even want to. I want to keep going, man. That's just pressing, man. I know everybody is excited about this offseason. We got a new head coach, and new GM. I'm excited about Spytek. Actually, I think I'm interested to see what he's going to do because he's been part of some good. He's been part of building some talented teams with Tampa Bay through the draft, free agency. He's part of making those smart moves. So hopefully he'll do that with the Raiders. Will it be quarterback in free agency? And the quarterback, if you want to give, let's go ahead and move on to the next. What's real? What's not?
Yes, the next
Raiders,
what's real? What's not?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, okay. The Raiders will sign former Seattle Seahawk, potentially former Pittsburgh Steeler, free agent quarterback Russell Wilson to be our quarterback for the 2025 Raiders under head coach Pete Carroll.
So the Raiders will sign Russell Wilson. Is that real or not? Will the Raiders sign Russell Wilson? Is it real or not? I'm gonna say. Oh man, if they really sign, if they get Derek Bevel, I think the chances kind of increase a little bit. But I'm gonna say it's not real. I think Russell Wilson, he seems pretty adamant that he wants to come back as a Steeler. I think they're gonna roll with Russell Wilson. But damn, there is a chance though. So I'm gonna say it's not real, but I think there's a chance. There is a chance. I think Pete Carroll, they're gonna make it interesting. And from what, if you want to believe in some of the tea leaves from in the past, I think Russell Wilson was interested to come into the Raiders in the past. The Raiders weren't interested.
Yeah, he was.
And which we were surprised because we're like, man, like you want to go with Gardner Minshew over Russell Wilson, like, and Russell Wilson is cheaper.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different conversation. But let us know if it's real or not. Russell Wilson will be a Raider. Is that real or not? Let us know in the chat. What's your take on it, Severe?
It's not real. No, I don't see us bringing him back. And I don't see any reason why he would want to come here unless the Pittsburgh Steelers just absolutely don't want him. And then even then, why not? The Browns are pretty disgusting too. There's some other pretty bad teams out there. But I think he would try to hitch his wagon on somewhere else before he comes here. Unless Pete Carroll would have to be a master salesman in order to sell him on coming to the Raiders to finish out his career. I think Pete Carroll will want to look somewhere else. Also, I think Spytek will want to look elsewhere. Also. Even though Spytek has shown, he's had some success bringing in free agent quarterbacks. Obviously, Tom Brady, Baker Mayfield is a recent one. as well. But I think he'll go younger, and I think he'll go less expensive, and I think he'll go in a little bit of a different direction than Russell Wilson.
New England Raider Booster says false. No, thank you. Raiders fool Chris says very likely. May Spit Fireside do not want Wilson. Reese Rock says real. Brandon says I believe Russ is the cheapest of the options, so yes, we'll sign him. Well, last year I think he signed a cheap deal because he was still getting paid by the Broncos.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this would be the case. I think he probably would maybe command maybe a little higher than a vet minimum. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see. What I wonder.
A lot higher.
Yeah, but I wonder what a Russell Wilson contract will look like at this stage of his career. But he's kind of, he couldn't point to like he has production. I mean, the Broncos, he didn't have a bad season with the Broncos from a production standpoint. Obviously, with the Steelers, he made the playoffs with them. So yeah, that's kind of interesting, especially because we just paid not Russell Wilson, but Gardner Minshew a contract last offseason.
Yeah.
And the year before, we signed Jimmy G to a contract. So we'll see what the Raiders.
What do you think they do with What do you think the new regime does with Gardner? You think they cut him?
They got to cut him. They have to. They have to. He's disgusting. He's disgusting. Just get rid of him, please. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him again. I don't want to see him again.
Pete Carroll gonna look at Pete Carroll. He gonna have a conversation with Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll will be like, "Man, I think I can reach him. I think I can reach him."
If Pete Carroll says, "I think I can reach Minshew," I'll be the first one to be like, "You're
reach him." I think we had a breakthrough.
Diesel says not real. There are literally no other choices, especially at 6 if 2 QBs are gone. It might be a situation.
I know people talk about Kyle Trask, who was like who Spy Tech was part of drafting and with the Buccaneers. Mac Jones is gonna be a free agent, I believe. Do they go down? Do they go that route?
No.
Your boy Trey Lance. Your boy Trey Lance.
Hell no, man. No. Pass on Mac Jones.
Jimmy Garoppolo's a free agent.
Come
on. Who else? Who else is a free agent? Who else is a free agent? Sam Darnold, of course, but I don't want Sam Darnold for what he's going to cost.
It's too much money. Too much money.
Yeah, I'm not even looking at Justin Fields, but
you know what?
Justin Fields,
I'm
done with the Raiders for this year.
I think that the Raiders could be active. Might be in the trade market. I know we talked about Stafford, but Geno Smith.
Yeah, Geno Smith. But Geno Smith is, he's, you wouldn't think it, but Geno Smith is like 35 years old. I think he's 35 going on 36. So he's he's older than you think he is. He's only 2 years, so he's like 2 years younger than Russ. Which is like, it's like by quarterback standards, he's not old, because he could play till 40.
Russ is 38? Russ Wilson's 38?
I think he's 37. I think he's 37.
37?
I think he's 37. He was 37. So Geno is like 2 years younger than Russ. And I think he wants to get kind of paid too. Not like stupid money, but I think he wants to get paid.
Yeah, we'll see. I think the Raiders they're gonna have to evaluate how they're gonna go about addressing the quarterback situation. I think they got to add a veteran in the room. They have to, which I'm cool with. I'm fine with, because there is a possible chance that they might draft a quarterback after the first round. It might be in the second round or maybe in the third round. And, Tom Brady, who Pete Carroll just kept bringing up his name, talking about we're going to need his help in evaluating that QB spot. And Tom Brady has said in the past, like, QB development is not there in today's league. They need QBs need time. You know what I'm going to throw out there too? What happens if Aaron Rodgers comes available? Do you see Tom Brady and Pete Carroll in that building? Considering a guy like Aaron Rodgers?
No, I think Pete Carroll based off of the culture aspect of things they've been talking about. I don't think they do it. Because Aaron Rodgers, he's a selfish guy. I think he's kind of proven that everywhere he's gone. So I don't think they want that element in the locker room. So I think they take a hard pass on that.
We'll see, man. Hey, like I said, the Raiders are going to be looking at everything: the free agency, trades, obviously the draft. But they're picking at number 6, so it's gonna be tough. Hopefully, they don't trade up to number 1 in this draft. But we'll see. Man, my guy, East Coast Gridiron, we gonna have you in the. Hey, we were just talking about you. Hey, we're gonna have you on here soon, especially to talk about the Senior Bowl. Are you out there? By the way, I think last time we were talking to you about the Senior Bowl, I think you said you were going to be out there, or is it the East Coast Shrine game? One or the other. I think just let us know. But we're going to be tapping in with you soon, for sure. Man, hey man, it's been a great show. Appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. We're going live on both our channels, so if you haven't already, make sure to check out both our channels and subscribe and hit that like button. And man, support the show, man. We like doing this. We want to keep coming back and doing this, man. We appreciate your support. Steve says, honestly, for what Dable style, I wouldn't be surprised if Giants sign Russ. If the Giants sign Russ and Titans get Shador.
Oh man, rest on bombs to Malik Neighbors.
You think Shador goes number 1?
Nah, I think Cam at this point. I think Cam goes before Shador now.
Right.
Kind of what I've been saying. The whole time.
But it's going to be interesting because they're going to take a lot of input. It's going to be interesting to see what Brady values, what type of QB that Brady values at quarterback. Because we all know whoever the Raiders are going to pick at quarterback is going to say a lot about what Brady likes in the QB and what he wants. Because that's what all Pete Carroll was saying. I mean, Mark Davis said it. Pete Carroll said it. They're going to lean on the great of all, the GOAT at that position. And he has a whole lot of, power in that room right now. So it's going to be interesting how they evaluate that QB spot. 2-year minimum. Russ low-key got his mojo back, bro. Throwing dimes in that playoff game. Yeah, their receiver situation is kind of ugly too, because dude, forgot that they drafted in the second round. Man, low-key Steelers got their wide receiver room, even though arguably talented, but they've had a lot of issues. A lot of just divas, immaturity. You know what I mean? I'm not. I'm trying to remember dude's name. That's in that their number one receiver in the room.
George Pickens.
George Pickens. Man, that's a guy, man. I think his days might be numbered, because the way he was going out with the Steelers. I mean, he's still on a rookie deal, but it's kind of interesting how the Steelers, as of late, their receiver room, they traded away the receiver to the Panthers last year, and I think he's probably going to be out the league. The way he's kind of handling himself. I think he went from the Steelers to the Ravens. He went to the Steelers to the Panthers.
Deontay Johnson.
Deontay Johnson, a former Steeler receiver, and George Pickens. He's kind of having issues. Obviously, we all know Antonio Brown, but at least Antonio Brown is all-time great. Yeah. These guys, they not really backing it up on the football field like that. Yeah, man. But we'll see, man. What do you guys think about Rodgers? We just brought it up. You know what? I kind of a little bit intrigued. 1-year deal. If Aaron
Rodgers,
if you're gonna go, hey, look. This is my attitude. The Raiders hired a 73-year-old quarterback. 73-year-old head coach.
Yeah.
Look at free agency quarterbacks. If they can't get someone in the trade and Rodgers is available, 1-year deal, do it. And you still drafting a guy. You still drafting a guy in the first round or second round.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If they're there.
Look, I look at it like this. The Raiders hired a 73-year-old head coach. If you want him to live to 74, you do not bring Aaron Rodgers to this team. You do not bring Aaron Rodgers to this team, bro. It's just
Aaron might retire. We'll see. That Jet situation, we'll see how it shakes out, because they have to let him go, right? He's still under contract, or is his contract up? I'm not sure. So we'll keep an eye on it, man. It's going to be a long off season. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about it. Like I said, it's been a great show. We appreciate everybody coming through. Severe, man, let the people know where they can find you, what to look forward to, all that good stuff.
You guys know what it is, man. The Severe Raider on YouTube, IG, X, Snapchat, TikTok, which is still reinstated recently. I know you catch me, man, every Tuesday afternoon. My guy Chris from Protect the Shield in 805. Of course, here on the 50-50 show with my guy Pharaoh. Been rocking it for, more than a year now, man. It's been consistent, man. Been consistent. And then, around the Shield every Friday night, sometimes we might surprise y'all with a live on Thursdays, man. That's why y'all gotta keep the notification bells rung, man, so y'all know whenever we're going live, bring you the latest and greatest in Raiders news, rumors, memes, all that good stuff. So make sure you follow Around the Shield on IG. And make sure y'all stop by the 50-50 shop, man. Valentine's Day is rapidly approaching. Hey, get yourself and your girl something matching, man. Y'all can rock. Hey, so they know it's a 50-50 relationship right there, man. Y'all equally yoked. Make sure y'all both rocking some 50-50 merch, man.
Real quick, Robert said Randy Moss or Jerry Rice?
Jerry Rice.
Yeah, Jerry Rice, man. Personally, stylistically, Randy Moss, one of the most talented receivers I've ever seen in my life, but Jerry Rice, man, like longevity, like the fact that how good he was. We seen him with the Raiders, man. He was literally became number one receiver on the team with Tim Brown still on the team. But Jerry Rice, man, I'm gonna go. I agree. But yeah, man. Hey, look, we like Severe said, we do this every Tuesday nights, man. Make sure to tune in. 50-50 show. We'll be back here next Tuesday. But also this week we'll drop Around the Shield episode this Friday. Sometimes we go live, but like Severe said, hit the notification bell. And also follow Around the Shield. You can follow us all over social media, but most importantly, also follow Around the Shield on IG and on Twitter, where we drop, the latest and greatest with the Raiders, podcast clips, memes, all that good stuff. So if you want to be up to date, make sure to follow us on Around the Shield, as well as obviously our own social media pages too. But hey, 50-50 shop, get your latest gear, all that good stuff, man. We appreciate everybody coming through. It's been a great show. Any last thoughts before we head out?
Nah, man. Now I know this is a hope-filled season. Everybody got their hopes all up. Just go into the season with precautions, man. I remember a lot of these same people last year were saying, the Raiders going to win 12 games, Raiders going to win 10 games, Raiders going to win 11 games, I think I might have had us at 9-8 or 10-7, right? I'm tempering my expectations right now, man. So, y'all do the same. I don't want people, New England, Jeff took it so bad. He's saying it's the worst season ever. So, I don't want y'all to get your hopes up, man, to get your hearts broken. Let's be cautiously optimistic. Let this team show us that's why I'm taking that approach from now on, man. Before I start believing, y'all got to show me. So, if they start making the right moves, they start hiring some good coordinators to bring in some good position coaches, maybe I'll be a little bit more optimistic. But for now, I'm taking a wait and see approach, and I think y'all should do the same.
Hey, man, this right here is for Cool Kev, man. I'm gonna have to give you one of these, man.
Pause.
Man, definitely pause on that one, man. I'm not even gonna post it on the screen, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, hey man. On that note, man, hey, we appreciate everybody coming through. We'll be back here this Friday, man. Make sure to tune in Around the Shield this Friday, man. Hey, and then for 50-50 show, we'll see y'all next week, man. All right, y'all. Peace.
Just win, baby. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.